In a vast grassland at the foot of a mountain, there are many slimes sparkling white under the sunlight. Hiding near a large tree in the distance are two adventurers. One of them, full of experience, warns their partner to act very carefully because if they let the slimes escape quickly, then all their hard work will vanish into thin air. Just as they finish speaking, they see someone else dash forward. "What the?" The veteran adventurer calls out to the young man closing in on the slime. "Hey, wait up for me." The newcomer swings their blade, slicing a slime in two. They single-handedly sweep through the slime pack, and the viscous slime residue splatters all around Yukito. Finishing with a brilliant sharp slash, his eyes flash with a cold, silvery blue light. A notification updates, player Yukito has successfully acquired S-rank items, including silver slime armor, silver slime protective gloves, and even silver slime boots. Yukito glances behind him where the loot usually drops. They shimmer under the sun. The other adventurers gasp in amazement. Just a single strike and they were all critical hits. Moreover, aren't those dropped items all A-rank with an incredibly rare drop rate? The veteran marvels, thinking it's an unimaginable stroke of luck. Meanwhile, Yukito is checking the loot table on his system. S-rank, S-rank, I can't believe my eyes, all of these are supreme S-rank treasures. He smiles faintly. This surely can't be real. I am single-handedly making up for a whole lifetime of pain and humiliation in just one day. Yukito recalls his past, his previous miserable life. I ended up finishing my life as a cheap copper-ranked adventurer. Yukito lived to be 85 years old, dying in the first-floor dungeon of Tokyo. Surrounded by young adventurers, Yukito's spine was hunched over as he leaned on his sword to walk. Someone holds up a smartphone screen for everyone to see. Look, those hideous monsters are rushing wildly toward this place. The outside world had long since completely fallen and been destroyed. Everyone is panicking. We must find a way to escape deeper into the dungeon, someone says in despair. It's useless, those hideous monsters will soon flood up from the lower floors. But then a kind young man pats Yukito on the shoulder and calls out, "Hey, old man, you need to find a way to run away right now. Is this really the right time for you to be leisurely hunting these harmless slimes?" He doesn't say a word, brushing the hand off his shoulder. Seeing Yukito walk toward the slimes, the young man tries to reach him again. "Old-timer." Others run past Yukito, ignoring the senile old man. He's completely lost his mind. He's just a useless, good-for-nothing old geezer whose stats can never increase anyway. An adventurer running by intentionally shoves Yukito. "Get out of my way, you low-life slimes, and that weak-bodied old man, too." Yukito sits down heavily on the grass, his sword falling beside him. His hand grips the hilt, silently wondering to himself, how many decades have passed since that day? He props himself up with his sword and walks. Ever since the moment the adventurer profession was officially born in this world. Yukito looks toward the adventurer who had just dashed toward the slime earlier. The status system is extremely familiar to everyone, but each individual's growth pattern is completely different. The reason he was so eager was that by simply defeating monsters, an adventurer's level would increase. Once their level increased, an adventurer's stat points would also grow. Yukito knew clearly that sometimes adventurers might even be lucky enough to acquire brand new combat magic and skills. That was always a completely normal thing for everyone else, but it wasn't like that for Yukito. He couldn't understand why cruel fate had chosen only him to be tormented like this. His status info shows he is currently at level 98, yet his stats are all hovering below 5 points. That was something Yukito couldn't accept. He remembers his youth. I have always put in so much effort and tried my absolute best more than anyone else in this world. After a long, endless period of only hunting the weakest and lowest monsters, he finally reached level 98. Yukito, with his aged body, struggles to slash a slime. He is the only one who had to suffer such a harsh fate. A moment later, only puddles of slime remained on the ground around him. The gloomy sunset light casts down further, deepening the sadness. Yukito lowers his sword to the ground. He knows the maximum level cap is 99, only one. A more level and he would reach the finish line. Once he officially hits the highest possible level, all his sacrifices and suffering for so long will finally be completely worth it. More slimes approach. Yukito uses all his remaining strength to rush toward them. He screams, "I have an incredibly strong belief in that. I must possess a late bloomer type of status." Yukito's hand reaches into the slime, aiming for a glowing round orb. Inside its body, it must be this. He uses his teeth to bite through the outer layer. It has to be this. At that moment, the system screen reflects in Yukito's eyes. He had waited for this moment for so long. That fateful time had finally arrived. The notification appears, "System board glitching, character data corrupted due to critical state." He raises a trembling hand. "It's right now. System broadcast." The system is announcing with glorious shock that adventurer Yukito Takahashi has successfully reached the absolute maximum level cap. Heartfelt congratulations on your monumental achievement. I've waited so long for this. Reward me for all the years of hardship and bitterness I've had to endure. Notification strength stats have increased. He remains kneeling, hands clasped in prayer as Yukito's status board updates. Strength stat increased by 6. Nothing else changed. That notification hit Yukito like a painful slap in the face. He stood there stunned. It couldn't be. Yukito nearly collapsed. You're definitely just toying with my fate, aren't you?" There was absolutely no change at all. He burst into tears, the frustration of so long finally boiling over. "Are you really not going to grant me anything?" Behind Yukito, countless glowing red monster eyes stared him down. Utter despair, it was truly hopeless now. "I can still keep going. There's still one last shred of hope left." The monsters had arrived, circling Yukito. He felt it was truly the most miserable and horrific life imaginable. Yukito recalled all the humiliation he'd suffered, being despised and shunned by everyone around him. "I didn't even have the power to save my dear mother, the one who always loved and cherished me with all her heart. I even cruelly destroyed the happiness of my only little sister." He closed his eyes, accepting the end of a life filled with failure and bitterness. Is it finally coming to an end? The sound of beast claws scraping the earth, fresh blood and scales flying through the air. The notification displayed user deceased. Status metrics were glitching wildly. The display flashed red. A critical system error has been detected in Yukito's status system. Applying patch immediately. Technical error detected. Reverting timeline of your life. Hidden parameters long buried have been successfully unlocked. Compensation reward for system status error. You have been granted 9,999 special status points. As he woke up, his vision gradually blurred. A female staff member stood before him. A voice rang out, "Heartfelt congratulations, Yukito!" Everything was still hazy and unclear. As the image sharpened, he saw the receptionist smiling brightly as she made the announcement. "From this day forward, you have officially become a full-fledged adventurer." Yukito had returned to his youth. He remained dazed, not understanding what was happening, while the receptionist asked with concern, "Is something the matter?" He took the name tag necklace and smiled, replying, "No, it's nothing." The receptionist politely continued, "In that case, thank you very much, sir." Yukito left the main hall. He was in a quiet corridor. Yukito pulled out his phone to check. His face went blank, looking at the date and time on the screen. Yukito remembered clearly that this was definitely the fateful day he first came to register his identity at the Adventurers Guild all those years ago. Recalling the flurry of notifications from before, he tried to analyze what the hell was actually going on. "I feel like I saw a strange notification about a status point compensation reward right before my final breath." Yukito? He wanted to check. He activated the status board. His stats were exactly as they had been 5 years ago. Of course, things had to be this way. He was curious when he saw the scroll bar wasn't at the end. Could he continue scrolling down further? The next piece of information stunned Yukito. He noticed his luck stat reached 9,999, highlighted in a striking gold. Wait a minute, what kind of crazy status board is this appearing before me? Upon seeing that notification, Yukito finally dared to believe in this luck stat. So, it was real all along. He stroked his chin deep in thought. In my past life, this was supposed to be a legendary hidden parameter. I really can't believe it. Even now, Yukito's hands were trembling because hadn't he lived in total misfortune for 7 long years? He unconsciously recalled the moment of his near death in the previous life. Yukito didn't want to think about it anymore. All right, for now, let's go hunt some slimes to verify this. Stepping out of the teleport gate, a vast field of grass appeared before him at the foot of the Tokyo Dungeon Floor 1, the footsteps that never fade, the first adventure. Yukito scanned the distance. There they are. Watching the seemingly harmless blue slimes on the grass, he remarked, "It feels just like home." Suddenly, something with incredible speed whizzed past behind Yukito. He was startled, guessing, could that be? Yukito saw its color was different from the others, a silver slime. According to his memories from his past life, this was a super rare 15-year hard-to-find monster. In his previous life, he'd only seen it once, and back then it had escaped in the blink of an eye. He raised his sword ready to take it out. This thing gave an enormous amount of experience, but it was also famous for running away the second it saw a human. He sped up, chasing it. One more step and his attack would reach it. Suddenly, something thudded into the ground right next to his foot. An adventurer in the distance who had just fired an arrow said sheepishly, "Sorry, my hand slipped and I let the arrow fly." Yukito was annoyed and thought to himself, "You idiot." The silver slime was struggling, looking for an escape route. Yukito was worried. Making such a loud noise like that, it's bound to run away. Suddenly, the silver slime dashed right past him. Yukito was startled and watched it cautiously. "It's charging to attack." The silver slime didn't run away, but continued to rush him. He raised his sword and aimed calmly and accurately. Yukito thrust his sword into it, a counterattack. The blade pierced the core inside the silver slime. Its body burst into droplets of water. Notification: "Congratulations, you have leveled up to level 4. Yukito looked at his broken sword, speechless. It broke after just one hit. Anyway, the silver slime has a very hard shell. I'll have to go buy a new weapon. As he stared blankly at the sword, a golden light suddenly erupted from behind it. Yukito gasped. This light, could it really be? He looked down at the weapon lying in the grass. He was stunned. The item that dropped was S-rank super rare, and on top of that it was a weapon. Yukito lifted the hilt. Starting off with something like this, talk about lucky. The item info displayed Silver Slime Greatsword. Stats high attack power, but because silver slimes are known for fleeing, there is a 30% chance to miss. With this silver sword, Yukito felt a surge of confidence. All right, time to keep hunting. Seeing 4 silver slimes in front of him, he couldn't believe it. Silver slimes, are they serious? Am I dreaming? They all charged at him at once. Yukito exclaimed, "They're actually coming for me!" He raised his sword without a shred of fear. There was no other choice but to fight. Let's take them down. This weapon feels easy to swing, but I can't handle them all at once. Yukito put everything he had into a downward strike, but a critical hit, he sliced a silver slime in 2. He skillfully swung his blade, cutting down the whole group. As the last one was shredded, Yukito finally stopped. A pile of high-quality loot appeared. He picked one up, overjoyed. I did it! I took them all out with my own hands. And after that, he spent about an hour hunting. Yukito had encountered a total of 10 silver slimes. He eagerly chased them down. Another one, and every single one is dropping super rare gear. Yukito checked his system inventory. My bags are completely full now. As sunset fell, Yukito finally stopped. He cheered, I can't believe this is actually happening. Yukito flopped down onto the lush green grass. Feeling the cool breeze, he opened his eyes and gazed at the vast sky. Happiness welled up inside him. This extreme luck was real. With this power in my hands, I can finally become someone. I will definitely give my family a happy life. My mom, who is sick and suffering, and of course my little sister too. As Yukito was savoring the joy, he suddenly sat bolt upright. Wait a minute. In this reality, do I even have a home? He had left to return to. I completely forgot it's been over 75 years since I lived all alone in solitude. A wave of homesickness washed over Yukito. I want to go home. He stepped into the teleportation gate. I want to see them. Yukito rushed back to his loving family, his footsteps never faltering, not for a second. Finally, I'm home. Yukito stopped panting hard. He looked at the row of apartments in front of him and walked down the hallway trying to follow his memories. Let's see. Which area was that room in the second floor? Right, I spent the latter half of my past life homeless with nowhere to turn, so my brain has completely forgotten everything. Seeing the nameplate on the door, he confirmed it. That's it. Room 203. Before his hand touched the doorknob, he had to calm himself down. Calm down. Why? It is my heart beating this fast. I'm so nervous. Yukito took a deep breath and let it out gently to steady himself. He had regained his composure. Before he could push the door, his sister opened it from the inside. Nozomi saw who was standing there and cried out softly. She opened the door wide. Welcome home, brother. Yukito looked at his sister, overcome with emotion. He pulled her into a tight hug. Nozomi was confused by the gesture. Hey, brother, what's gotten into you all of a sudden? Are you joking with me? Yukito was silent, not answering. He promised himself, in this life, I will never ever let anyone take them away again. They are the most precious treasures of my life. For now, Yukito chose to tell Nozomi everything that had happened. She listened, then marveled. That is incredible, beyond anything I could have imagined. So just by relying on that unbelievable luck, you really can save Mom, can't you? Yukito confirmed it with confidence. Of course I can. Although to achieve that, We're going to have to put in a lot of work and effort." After saying that, he set his glass on the table and ended the conversation. The next day, Yukito immediately took the rare items he had just collected to sell them. And thanks to the massive amount of money earned from that deal, he entered an auction. An item caught his eye, so he raised the bid to 10 million yen. Yukito chose to buy a specialized medicine for treating severe debilitation. It was the highest grade available. The auctioneer was shocked, his hammer striking the podium. Once everything was settled, Yukito went to the hospital. His mother was in a private room, the door bearing a sign with the patient's name, Mrs. Yuku Takahashi. The two siblings stood outside and knocked. He called out, "Mom, it's me. Can I come in?" Nozomi peeked in as well. "Mom, we came today to check on how you're doing. We've been so worried. Are you and the kids doing well and staying safe all this time?" Yukito said gently. "Mom, that should be our line. We're the ones who should be asking you that." Nozomi opened the gift box to show her, "Look, everyone see this. I brought you a little something today, Mom." Yuku replied happily, "Thank you both so much. You're always worrying about me, but really you don't need to. Go to the trouble of bringing anything here next time. Keep that money for your own meals so you can eat better." Both siblings reassured her, and Yukito said, "Mom, from now on you won't have to worry about money ever again." Nozomi chimed in, "And today I actually have something extra special for you, Mom." Yuku asked curiously, "What on earth could that be, dear?" He pulled out the potion vial to show her. "This might come as a bit of a surprise, but I really need you to drink this potion right now." Nozomi boasted, "My brother worked so hard slaving away in those dark dungeons just to buy this gift for you, Mom." Yuku couldn't help but worry. "But Yukito, honey, didn't you just officially become an adventurer? Is that true? Could you really have the ability to earn enough money to buy such an incredibly expensive item like this?" Yukito replied, "I just got a little lucky, that's all." He placed it in her hands. "Mom, please drink it quickly." Yuku took it, opened the vial, and brought it to her lips, slowly drinking it down. A wave of energy radiated from her, and she instantly looked much more lively. Both siblings waited expectantly. "Mom, how does your body feel now?" Included above, Mom. "How does your body feel now?" Yuku shared her experience. "It's so strange. Why does my body suddenly feel so much lighter, and breathing has become so much easier and faster?" Yukito breathed a sigh of relief. "That's honestly such great news." Nozomi jumped for joy and high-fived him. "My brother is the best," Mom said. It was a bit hard to swallow, though. The taste of this potion really isn't very pleasant. Yukito thoughtfully offered a sweet, "I prepared some sweets for you to have so you can cleanse your palate." Seeing her looking healthier, the doctor came over to check on her again. He was much more at ease. The symptoms that had been ravaging her body were finally subsiding significantly, and the progression of that terrible illness had been completely halted. After going through a short period of physical therapy and rehabilitation, the doctors finally cleared her to be discharged and return home to continue resting. Leaving the hospital and feeling the fresh air outside, Yuku exclaimed, "Everything feels like a happy dream, finally being able to have our family of 3, and living together under one roof again." Nozomi carefully helped her walk. "Just to be clear, Mom, this isn't a dream at all." When they returned home, they had a meal together. Yuku happily washed the dishes. "Our dear home really is the place that brings the most peace and comfort in this world." Nozomi turned to her brother, who was beaming with joy, knowing Mom was getting better. Yukito interrupted, "But that still isn't enough to solve the problem entirely." She looked stunned. "Is that really true, brother?" he said sadly. "That expensive potion from earlier is in the end only a temporary measure. It absolutely cannot cure the root cause of this terrible illness." Nozomi asked for her brother's thoughts. "I understand now." "Then what do we have to do next?" He replied, "We need to find a legendary item, something of the highest L-class rank with even greater power, like a miracle elixir that can bring back the dead, for example." Nozomi finished her dishes and continued, "I know a little bit about that legendary miracle medicine. I once saw it appear on the news. The most outstanding and powerful adventurers in the world were lucky enough to find one." Seeing that information on the news, she exclaimed, "That's right, the miracle elixir of resurrection. The only chance of it appearing is in areas deep below the 50th floor of the dungeon, and it's something that is absolutely impossible to buy or trade with money. They are called unique items, aren't they, brother?" Yukito set the dish into the sink for his mother and confirmed, "Exactly right." He thought to himself, unique items are incredibly special treasures that only the person who collects them personally has the right to use. It is the ultimate glory. Something only achievable by those elite enough to defeat powerful creatures. Nozomi speculated, if we absolutely cannot use money to buy it, that means that you have to personally venture into danger to take it right. He didn't hide the truth. That's exactly right. She took the dish from her mother's hand. Nozomi hummed a tune while wiping the dishes. Does my brother really have the ability to go deeper than the 50th floor of that dungeon which is teeming with dangers? He bluntly denied it. No way that would ever happen. If I did that, I would definitely just lose my life in vain. Nozomi was startled. What if that's the case, then this? Isn't that completely impossible? Yukito replied. Well, if we look at the normal rules of this world, then yes, that is true. He was thinking, however, the great power gifted to me right now isn't just pure luck. It's all the vast knowledge accumulated from... In my previous life, that legendary item, the Elixir of Resurrection, wasn't just some myth. It could actually be found far beyond the deepest, darkest dungeon floors. And I am the only one who knows about this rare, exceptional case. It's a drop from the supreme cluster monster that rules the 20th floor of the giant ancient stone dungeon, but the drop rate is incredibly slim. Resurrection is possible, but the odds of this happening are astronomically low, as you would expect. After all, it is an extremely rare item from an incredibly rare monster. In fact, during my entire previous life, it was such a rare once-in-a-lifetime event that you would almost never even hear about it happening, not even once. But with my current God-tier luck stat, I am absolutely certain I can easily get my hands on that elixir. As I think that Nozomi sees me smiling and asks, "Brother, you're making that suspicious face again, aren't you? You look like you're plotting something shady." Yukito acts surprised. Had I really let that expression show? She doesn't seem too worried, though. Well, whatever, it's fine. No matter what happens, you'll always find a way to handle things easily, right? Isn't that right, big brother? I smile softly at my sweet, trusting sister and pour a glass of orange juice. Of course I can absolutely do it. First, I need to take care of some thorough preparations. Nozomi asks, curious, preparations. Yukito reveals, in this world, there is always an alternative solution to any difficult problem. Yukito's hand reaches toward the family photo on the table as I think about what's needed to dive into a dark dungeon. The first thing is combat gear. My Silver Slime Greatsword has incredibly high attack power, but because of the Silver Slime's innate tendency to run away, this weapon comes with a 30% chance of veering off target and missing. On top of that, it's coated in a layer of Silver Slime Tears, a substance that grants any gear a 1 in 3 chance to cut incoming damage in half. Nozomi peeks in from the doorway, curious. Brother, are you getting ready to head into a dungeon again? Seeing my gear? Nozomi looks uneasy. But are you sure that wearing such flimsy clothes is okay? All the real warriors out there choose to wear heavy, sturdy armor. Isn't that right? I say somewhat awkwardly, logically speaking, you're right. But my starting stats are just too low. Yukito thinks to himself, the status board, which is supposed to help reveal and unlock the full potential, hidden within a person, seems to be stubbornly refusing to increase any stats at all to this very day. Except for my ultimate luck, with such poor low stats. Wearing heavy armor all over my body is completely impossible. For me, just swinging this massive greatsword is already the absolute limit of what I can handle. But in return, I've managed to learn brand new combat skills as my level increases. Explosive Heavy Blow, a specialized warrior skill that allows me to deal a critical hit with a 30% success rate. Nozomi realizes, so your next plan is to focus on increasing your base stats. Is that it? Let's see how it goes. The 5th floor of the Alice's Crown dungeon, the Desolate Forest. The hideous monsters that roam there possess a very rare drop, called the Miracle Fruit. I just need to be extremely careful and stay safe. Nozomi thoughtfully hands something to Yukito. I made a lunchbox for you, here you go. Even though you might get full just by eating those magical fruits, I am moved as I accept the gift. This is really a huge help to me. A really huge help. After that, the lunchbox is stored in the system inventory. Before leaving the house, Yukito says, "All right, I'm heading out now. Everyone at home, please take good care of yourselves." Yukito arrives at this desolate forest where the atmosphere is gloomy and carnivorous plant monsters are hunting insects. Yukito walks out of the dungeon gate and enters. This place is the 5th floor of the dungeon. Tokyo Dungeon, 5th floor, Alice's Crown, the Desolate Forest. Yukito thinks, the 5th floor, Alice's Crown. Or, as most adventurers know it, the Desolate Forest is a relatively easy dungeon floor with monsters, primarily consisting of mutant plants. After all, it's still just a shallow dungeon floor, and other adventurer groups have long since cleared this place out. As long as I have a map, there shouldn't be any danger as long as I don't do anything reckless. It's terrifyingly quiet. I know. This is the territory of the Treant tribe. Yukito looks at the strange trees. Treants are plant monsters that are extremely cunning and excellent at using camouflage to set ambushes, making it very difficult for humans to tell them apart. They look just like harmless trees in the forest. Yukito crouches down to pick up a rock, but their camouflage isn't just a skill. It's flawless with no gaps. He tosses the rock forward. If you focus and watch closely, you'll realize their leaves completely lack the natural veins of real plants. Or notice how their roots grow and anchor themselves in such strange, unnatural ways. The rock hits the trunk, a perfectly accurate strike on target. The Treant pulls its roots from the ground and stomps over furious. It glares at the newcomer with blood-red eyes. Yukito isn't scared. That was a perfectly precise, critical hit. He instantly dashes from where he was standing and delivers a lethal sword strike, slicing the Treant in two. Yukito knows that as long as he stays alert and watches for surprise attacks from blind spots, they're just mediocre opponents he can wipe out in a heartbeat. Hearing a noise behind him, he turns around and sees that fruit fall. Yukito is thrilled. Oh, it finally dropped. The miracle fruit. An item with an incredibly rare drop rate. He picks up the bright red fruit and takes a bite. A faint red energy radiates from his body. Yukito thinks the taste of this magical fruit is like a thin slice of pear or apple. He checks his system interface. How does it taste? That's not important right now. Let's check my character stats. Seeing his level go up to 21, he's overjoyed. This is amazing, it actually increased. This miracle fruit possesses a special effect that helps permanently boost a small amount of stats. By taking advantage of this miracle medicine, even someone like me with trash and pathetic stats can gradually become stronger. From that moment on, Yukito went on a frantic hunting spree like a madman. He kept hunting and eating them over and over again. He kept hunting, then eating. Eventually, he really started to get sick of this repetitive, bland taste. He pulls out the lunchbox Nozomi prepared instead. While checking the system, Yukito realizes he has finally hit the maximum growth limit for this stage. His level is now 23, strength is 27, and other stats have increased by over 10 points. Yukito knows his current stats have finally reached the average, standard for warriors of this level. He stretches to relax his body. All right, I'll call it a day and stop working for now. It's the perfect time to head back home. Right then, something dangerous whizzes past Yukito's back. He gets defensive. Who's skulking around over there, huh? The others speak up. Well. For you to come here all alone and shamelessly hog this entire lucrative hunting ground, that's not very nice, is it? Today, we're going to personally teach a rookie like you what manners are. There are two of them. Yukito notices they don't have legal adventurer ID cards. You low-life scavengers, you're just wandering criminals. He confirms it. True enough. When it comes down to it, you're just a rich kid who got lucky using money to rely on the expensive gear you're wearing, that's all. Am I wrong? The other one threatens, if you're smart and obediently leave all that gear, which is far too luxurious for your actual ability right here, we might show some mercy and let you live. Yukito recalls that the wandering scavenger criminals are outlaws who specialize in committing heinous crimes right inside dungeons. There were previous warnings to stay hyper-vigilant against wanderers, and if you happen to spot any suspicious individuals, report the incident to the Adventurers Guild immediately. Yukito watches them warily. I've been exposed to warning information about your kind before, but I never expected to be unlucky enough to run into you directly right here. Both of them mock him. What's the matter with you, huh? Are you so terrified that you can't even speak, is that it? Whatever you do, don't get so scared that you pee your pants. That would seriously lower the value of that expensive gear you're wearing. Yukito warns them, what a bunch of ridiculous, brainless idiots. Let me make one thing perfectly clear. I don't have even a tiny scrap to spare for lowly criminals like you. The two of them are furious, their faces darkening. One pulls a sword out from space. You little brainless brat, since you are heartless enough to refuse our generous offer, we'll just have to end your life and take everything ourselves. The other one, a mage, adds, even though you're just a weak, pathetic bunch, where on earth are you getting the confidence that you can win in a 2-versus-1 fight like this, huh? Both of them lunged at Yukito at the same time. Yukito started to move. He aimed for one of them first. The guy scoffed, you fool, do you really think? You don't even know the most basic tactical principle, which is to focus on taking out the mage first. Yukito activated Burst Strike, leaping high into the air. The guy was still laughing. You really are nothing but an amateur. There is absolutely no reason why a skill as trashy as that one with a 70% miss rate could get lucky enough to hit me. Taste this. My stinger skill is a guaranteed hit. As the guy lunged with his blade, Yukito prepared to strike down. The blade grazed Yukito. Energy light flared from Yukito, blasting the guy's face. He gasped, "This situation, it's really gone south." One strike sent the guy flying. His body slammed into a tree behind him. The pain from his chest made him wince, and finally he began foaming at the mouth and collapsed. The mage couldn't believe it. He couldn't even react or resist that sudden attack. But the activation rate of that piece of equipment was only 30%, Yukito mused. Truly a luck beyond all belief, a gift from fate. Yukito turned his attention to the remaining one. Now the situation has officially become a one-on-one, hasn't it? After speaking, he drifted into thought. Yukito was shocked how amazing. Everything had activated so precisely and perfectly. The stinger skill the enemy had just used was a technique that could only be learned upon reaching level 25. That meant he had gone up against an opponent with a significantly higher level. Stinger was an absolute guaranteed hit attack that was impossible to dodge through normal means, but in exchange for that effect, it was a skill that proactively reduced the user's initial attack power by 30%. Meanwhile, the silver slime film that he had carefully coated over his outfit possessed the ability to reduce half of the incoming damage with a 1 in 3 chance. Therefore, in reality, he only took about 30% of the base damage from that treacherous attack. If he hadn't had this supreme luck stat today, a horrific hole might have been gouged right into his stomach. The mage spoke up, unbelievable. "I can't believe my eyes. That Yamada could be defeated so easily with just a single blow." Yukito declared, "If you're smart and surrender right now, I might show mercy and forgive your crimes." The mage, still stubborn, replied, "Don't you dare look down on me. From a safe distance like this, a mage like me can easily control and deal with a warrior quite cleanly." Yukito said calmly, "That is certainly true from your current position. It's practically impossible for a muscle-headed warrior like you to get close to me." Then he sheathed his sword. The guy gloated, "What's wrong, starting to feel cornered and want to give up, right?" Yukito reached into his inventory. "Of course not, that's never going to happen." He switched to another weapon. Yukito was now holding a staff, preparing to use it. This staff was very unique. The shaft was covered in blooming flowers. The mage burst out laughing. "You little brat, do you even understand? And what it is you're holding in your hands?" Yukito swung it. "Of course I do. This is the random staff, an item I accidentally picked up from the remains of a monster. A real unlucky monster that didn't drop any fruit. Or any miracles." The mage mocked him. "You really are a stupid, ignorant amateur. That random staff, theoretically it's ranked as a tier 5 rare item, but in reality it's just an unstable piece of trash that only activates random types of magic without the user's consent. Its activation rate is extremely biased and erratic. It's a piece of junk equipment that's famous and widely known all over the world. The number of spells contained within it that are actually useful is extremely small. It has a 40% failure rate, 30% chance for basic-level magic, 9% chance for intermediate-level magic, and 20% for stat-boosting or debuffing effects. Your Burst Strike skill with its 30% activation rate might have gotten you lucky enough to hit the target a few times. But trying to intentionally pull off a specific spell you want is completely impossible once the magic selection process of the random staff officially starts." He triumphantly conjured a stream of flames. "The magic incantation I am focusing on casting right now is a fireball, an intermediate-level spell." The guy puffed his nose, proud of his own abilities. "Even if you could get lucky enough to hit that rare 9% chance to activate intermediate magic with my specialized mage equipment, my magic stat has already reached 50. My magical power after being fully enhanced by my treasures will definitely be superior and much stronger. In other words, the outcome is absolutely certain. Even if there's only a 9% chance to trigger an intermediate-level spell with the specialized gear I've got for mages, my magic stat has already hit 50. Once my magic power is fully boosted by these artifacts, it'll definitely be overwhelming. In other words, the outcome is guaranteed. Since I'm a real mage, the luck of a clueless rookie like you ends right this second." The mage condensed a massive flame, saying, "Take this punishment." He launched a fireball toward Yukito, who was so bored he almost fell asleep. Finally, it decides to show up. "I'm fully prepared to face you now." His staff began glowing with mystical energy as a red orb formed. "Random staff, activate your power," Yukito declared. He hoisted the staff, which was creating a giant fireball, lifting the flames even higher. He swung his arm down, launching the orb forward. Raging fire scorched the nearby trees, and smoldering embers danced in the wind. The fireball that the mage was so proud of was just a tiny fraction of the size of this one. Yukito used the sheer scale of his attack to crush that puny little thing. The mage fell on his backside in terror. How could my fireball spell be wiped out that easily? This is impossible. How could he possibly pull off a meteor strike? That's a legendary top-tier spell. The odds of that are nearly zero. The giant fireball was closing in. The mage clung to a shred of hope. That's it, yeah. This must just be a harmless optical illusion meant to trick my eyes. The heat singed his bangs. It was all too real. It's too hot! The mage screamed as the fire caught his clothes. He couldn't escape. His body was being burned intensely. He gasped, staring at the monster of a spell. The heat hit his face, and he was so terrified he even wet his pants. A violent explosion erupted, spreading all around. When everything settled, the land was scorched, and thick black smoke rose into the air. The mage's body was singed, right down to his burnt-out clothes. Yukito's staff snapped in half and was catching fire, so he blew out the flames and tossed it aside. I'm very... sorry that things had to end this way for you, he said with immense confidence. After all, I'm just someone who happens to have maxed-out luck. Yukito sighed, looking at the two pathetic figures. Finally, the battle is won. But I can't just leave these wandering criminals lying around here, can I? He sliced through some nearby vines. Even though it was a total pain, he had to haul them back up to the surface himself. He tied them up one by one. If I bind them up like this, that should be enough to keep them under control, I guess. Yukito dragged them along. It's finally time to head back to the surface. Let's get moving. As soon as he made it back to the surface, Yukito immediately handed the wandering criminals over to the police force. By the time he finished giving his statement to the authorities, the sky outside had already turned completely dark. Yukito was utterly exhausted. He returned to the guild office and the receptionist greeted him. I'm so sorry and apologize for submitting this report late as I accidentally ran into some unnecessary trouble. Are you? Yukito, right? We've already heard and understand the whole situation from the police. That's actually great. It saved me a lot of effort. And time trying to explain everything. She smiled brightly. Congratulations, by the way. The receptionist handed him a box containing a necklace. My dear Mr. Takahashi, you have officially been approved by the Adventurers Guild for promotion to silver rank. He was surprised. Promoted? Is there some kind of mistake or error here? I don't feel like I've contributed or done anything significant enough to deserve this honor. Am I wrong? Getting approved for a silver rank promotion is never an easy feat, even for individuals with truly exceptional talent. And it usually takes them 3 long years of hard work. You have to collect and submit specific designated items, put your own effort into slaying grotesque monsters, and make contributions truly worthy of the guild's growth. The receptionist said politely, There is no mistake at all. This is an official decision. From the higher-ups, because the 2 criminals you so brilliantly captured are actually key members of the notorious Red 8 gang. Yukito knew of them. The Red 8 gang, a group of antisocial criminals under intense, widespread pursuit. Because of that, your contribution points have increased quite significantly, the receptionist confirmed. That is exactly the case. But the fact that you were able to defeat them single-handedly is still an incredibly impressive and respectable feat. Both of those criminals possessed combat skills and strength equal to real silver-rank adventurers. Yukito was shocked and asked, Are you serious? So those thugs actually possessed such formidable power? Truth be told, I was in a really tight and dangerous spot earlier. You take the badge. The receptionist continued, I just got a little lucky, that's all. Come now, come now. You don't need to be so overly humble. You've now officially joined the ranks of silver rankers, and the Adventurers Guild has high expectations for you. Getting down to business, you'll start pushing yourself to explore areas beyond the first floor of the dungeon. Adventurers have always been held to strict regulations. The number of dungeon floors they're allowed to explore is based on their actual rank. Copper rank adventurers are restricted to the first 10 floors. Silver rankers are allowed to explore up to the 30th floor, and for the Supreme Gold rank, there are absolutely no restrictions whatsoever. Yukito puts the badge around his neck and replies, I understand the rules. My immediate goal is to explore at least up to the 20th floor. The receptionist hesitated and said, I will certainly do my best to support and assist you. However, the 20th floor is inherently a very dangerous area filled with life-threatening risks, so at the very least, I strongly advise against your decision to explore that place all on your own. Yukito bowed and said, Thank you sincerely for this incredibly useful advice. Having said that, he immediately turned and left. Yukito was secretly thrilled. I managed to rank up much sooner than I originally planned. Could getting tangled up in trouble with those wandering criminals have actually been an incredible stroke of luck in disguise. An old man approached. Sorry for the sudden interruption, but could I borrow a brief moment of your time? You agree immediately. Yes, of course. What is it? The old man asked, Are you the adventurer who took down these two vicious criminals? The two criminals were posted on the bulletin board. Yunpei Yamada charged with robbery, 20 years old. 180 centimeters tall, bounty of 1 million yen. Hiroshi Hashimoto charged with robbery and murder, 30 years old, 150 centimeters tall, bounty of 1 million yen. Yukito confirmed, That's right, they suddenly rushed me. So I had to fight back in self-defense. The old man's entire body was trembling. He grabbed your hand, moved, and said, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Yukito was confused by his attitude. The old man tore the notice off the board. These very demons heartlessly murdered my beloved son. You actually managed to capture the vicious criminals that even the police force were helpless to touch. Yukito humbly said, It was nothing, really. At that moment, I was just trying to fulfill my duties and responsibilities as an adventurer. The old man bowed deeply with sincere emotion, even if you say that. In my heart, I will always be deeply grateful for your great achievement. Yukito was stunned. The old man burst into tears. Now I can finally find peace and bring this good news to my poor son's grave. As the old man left, he recalled his miserable previous life. He had never received a single sincere word of thanks from anyone. Honestly, the feeling of being appreciated like this wasn't bad at all. Not bad at all. But thinking about it, if I let things continue along this path, this entire world is sure to face total annihilation by the time I become a senile old man. Should someone like me, the only one holding knowledge of the future, step in to change this tragic fate? No, absolutely not. Don't be complacent and think too far ahead, you little slime. At this moment, you don't possess the great power to turn the entire world around. Yukito slapped his own face and brushed those thoughts aside. He needed to be more realistic. The first and most important goal he needed to accomplish was to desperately save his mother's life. That was the top priority privilege right now. Scene changed to a certain organization. This dark place was lit by torches on the walls. On a stone table were several weapons and items. A man cursed in anger, Damn it all! I really can't believe my eyes. How could both Yamada and Hashimoto be defeated so easily and miserably if this terrible situation continues? The scene shifts to an organization, a place of darkness, lit only by torches on the walls. On a stone table lay various weapons and supplies. A man curses in rage, Damn it all! This is just impossible. I can't believe my own eyes. Both Yamada and Hashimoto were beaten that easily. That pathetically, if this keeps up, if this pathetic streak continues, there is absolutely no way we can do this. We can no longer serve as a warning or set an example for the others we will never be able to complete. Our duty of paying the periodic tribute to the high-ranking figures above. His eyes turned bloodshot with hatred. He grabbed a sharp knife from the table, his gaze locked on the boy's photo in a newspaper. I will never ever forgive this debt. This blood won't be in vain, Yukito. He slashed the photo with the knife. I will end your life with my own hands to get my revenge. His eyes were seething with rage, but suddenly Yukito became calm again. He set the knife down on the table. However, I will never allow myself to be careless, or let my guard down against you, you bastard. That Yukito had brilliantly defeated both Yamada and Hashimoto in an unfair 2-on-1 battle. That was truly clear proof that his combat ability was not to be underestimated in the slightest. However, in this world, there are always countless devious plans and methods to deal with situations like this. Kito draped his cloak over his shoulders. It is truly a great misfortune for your fate to have accidentally fallen into my crosshairs. Stepping out of the dungeon gate, Yukito exclaimed as he looked at the place in front of him. This is the 15th floor of the 3rd dungeon. Standing amidst these layered rocky mountains, he exclaimed in awe, Proud, empty, lonely mountain peak. Yukito was having difficulty moving. This land possessed paths that were extremely narrow and winding, accompanied by terrain that was incredibly rugged and full of deadly traps. Because it had to endure such complex geographical characteristics, venturing in to explore as a group was extremely difficult, so it would be best if we proactively split our forces into 2 separate groups. To act, this area is extremely remote and very hard to be discovered by the eyes of others. For that very reason, there have been quite a few rumors that this place is an ideal hideout for heinous crimes. Stepping into the light, Yukito plunged his sword into the cliffside, then stepped onto the sword to gain momentum and vaulted high up. But for a lone hunter like me, this place is an incredibly perfect stage. Couldn't be better. At the same time, Yukito grabbed the hilt of his sword. When confronting a giant monster bird, he was ready. He had to give it his all to raise his own level to a new height before officially accepting to face the harsh challenges on the 20th floor. I must learn brand new combat skills right here in this place. In reality, I really wanted to level up by hunting that rare silver slime species. However, because I have hunted and slaughtered them in such massive numbers over the past time, they seem to have completely gone extinct, and refuse to appear even one more time. Now I have absolutely no choice but to accept grinding levels by accumulating the number of ordinary monsters. It is right at this moment. In front of him appeared circular stone monsters. He told himself, now let's fight with all my might. Yukito wiped out all kinds of monsters in this dungeon. He collected many new items like bows, gloves, and swords. The rare item had finally been successfully collected into his hands. Kito was present here. He hid behind a rock, observing Yukito fighting all alone. The boy only carried a single silver slime greatsword and was not equipped with any set of protective armor on his body at all. Surely there could be no mistake. The bastard standing on the other side is indeed Yukito. I truly cannot believe my eyes. When he has enough arrogance to recklessly set foot deep into my inviolable territory, he is clearly completely looking down on my abilities. However, rushing to attack him immediately at this moment would not bring any practical benefit. I will patiently hide and wait until he is completely off his guard before making my move. Seeing Yukito's actions, he was surprised. He was actually preparing to set up camp to rest for the night. Kito followed him until the sky turned dark. He was lighting a fire to rest in a rock alcove. He thought to himself, based on the current situation, it seems like he intends to stay in this dungeon floor for a relatively long time. I have just accidentally come up with a perfect and profound plan. A base and common person like him is absolutely not worthy of me having to deal with personally. Remember, this place is my own territory after all. We are currently holding an overwhelming home field advantage, just like the laws of operation of the natural world outside. A balanced circular ecosystem has always existed between the populations of hideous monsters, and I can completely take advantage of that characteristic, of their intelligence, to turn it into a huge advantage for my plan. His plan was to carry out a slaughter to reduce the number of creatures belonging to the top predators and proactively create conditions to increase the number of creatures that were originally prey. Lowly. Kito dropped food down for the insects under the cave. Their eyes were blood red, looking extremely scary. He understood their biological characteristics. These hideous monsters have always possessed the ability to reproduce and replicate at an incredibly dizzying speed. Once the pyramid structure of the ecosystem is impacted, leading to collapse, their population will very easily fall into a state of uncontrollable population explosion. He sat in the waiting room. That fateful moment has certainly arrived. In other words, to make it easier to understand, when he felt the time was right, Kito left the house. This horrific turn of events will in the end be written off as nothing more than a mundane and tragic accident. Just an unlucky, ill-fated adventurer who happened to get swept up and devoured by a chaotic storm, a monster stampede of ravenous, bloodthirsty magical beasts, in such a cruel, calculated way. His death will never draw any suspicion or questions from the public or the authorities. He continues carrying a bag toward the insect's den. Inside, countless bloodthirsty eyes watch him with glee. Everything is going perfectly exactly according to the plan he laid out. A bag of rank C insect repellent, a specialized reagent capable of driving away mid-sized monsters. He dumps the whole thing into the den. The time is finally right. It's time to put the finishing touch on the plan. "Now, you damn bastard," he says with a smug grin. As the swarm of bugs starts to rise, prepare yourself to suffer a death so gruesome there won't even be a scrap left, not even a single bone. Let them tear into you and devour your entire body down to the last piece. Yukito, who was busy taking down a monster, suddenly hears a strange sound. Yukito stops and turns his head toward it. Huh? What is that bizarre rapid-fire sound echoing from far away? What in the world is that? The bright area suddenly goes pitch black. He looks up, it looks like a giant dark cloud. No way. That's absolutely impossible. Yukito finally realizes it's a terrifying monster stampede, a swarm of death locusts numbering in the countless thousands. They are frantically sweeping through this area. This emergency is a disaster no single person could ever hope to face alone. Yukito immediately turns to run. He knows he has to. He absolutely needs to find other adventurer parties to team up with and fight back. But where would a large group of adventurers be gathered right now? Where could they be? He suddenly recalls a precious memory from his past life. He remembers hearing a tip. A very important one right here in this dungeon. There's a secret supply base. Two people were chatting about it once, saying ever since the mountain supply base was built and put into operation. Exploring the proud, empty lands of the Lonely Peak has become much easier and more convenient for adventurers. That must be the legendary Red Earth Cave. Yukito had seen it on the map. For some mysterious reason, this important landmark wasn't mentioned or recorded in the standard dungeon guidebooks. He stops in front of that dirt cave. Yukito decides right here and now. There is absolutely no time left to waste on getting lost. He slides down, lands on a golden frog, jumps to the side, and touches the stone wall. It's just as he thought. The color of the earth here looks distinctly different from the surrounding areas. Yukito shouts toward it, announcing the emergency monster stampede. A terrifying one is happening right now. Everyone, please, we have to team up and fight together to survive this disaster. The stone wall doesn't budge. Yukito turns back and sees the locusts closing in, so he has no choice but to slash at the entrance. The situation has truly become critical. Even if I have to use force to carve out a bloody path, I have to get inside. Stones fly as he slices through the entrance. A tunnel opening appears. Seeing the people tied up inside, Yukito stands there stunned by the scene before his eyes. What on earth is going on here? Those people are wearing nothing but thin clothes, their mouths gagged, looking at him with desperate eyes. Yukito says, speechless, so you guys have this kind of bizarre and twisted hobby. They all shake their heads frantically. He draws his sword and prepares to head in. So that's how it is. With lightning-fast speed, Yukito cuts the ropes off them. The ropes fall away, and everyone is overjoyed. I've finally been saved. I really thought my life was going to end here. Yukito asks curiously. So what the hell happened to you all here? Two people speak up. I was suddenly ambushed and attacked by vicious wandering criminals. They used some kind of item to induce physical weakness and knocked me out. Another continues immediately after. They didn't kill me right then and there. That means they were likely planning to keep me alive to auction off my body. It has to be. It's an illegal human trafficking ring. Yukito realizes he's walked right into an enemy den. In other words, this isn't a base at all. It's a dangerous hideout for those wanderers. It hasn't been turned into a safe supply base for adventurers at all. He suddenly wonders, could that really be the truth of it? The vast, profound knowledge I hold in my head, these monumental events that were only ever supposed to happen at some point in the future. A very, very distant future. Based on the original course of history, those wretched low-life criminals were supposed to be cornered and captured by the proper authorities. In the near future, this very cave was meant to be renovated and repurposed into a sturdy supply base for adventurers. I, however, stumbled upon this place by accident before that future ever came to pass in reality. Throughout my miserable past life, I was completely isolated and cut off from the world's changing tides, just mindlessly hunting harmless slimes for 75 long years with the mindset and perception of an old man. Senile, really. To me, a decade or so is just a minor, negligible margin of error. Hell, even 40 or 50 years mean absolutely nothing to me. Anyway, I can leave the deep analysis for after all this is over. Yukito glanced at them, thinking to himself, although this sudden turn of events was completely outside my original plans, I have no choice but to find a way to manage and make the most of the limited resources I have here to fight. As he spoke up, I have fully understood and grasped the critical situation at hand. My apologies to everyone for making such a sudden proposal at this moment. But please, everyone, listen very carefully to what I am about to say. Yukito pointed to the sky outside. A massive swarm of death locusts was frantically sweeping through, closing in on this dungeon area right now. They were swarming toward this cave, looking incredibly vicious and bloodthirsty. Everyone panicked. What the hell is actually happening? Are you saying that the entire pitch-black cloud in the distance is actually made up of bloodthirsty death locusts? A horrific monster riot. Their population numbers are just way too high. It's completely out of control. Yukito confirmed, based on what we can see for ourselves right now, our survival time is really running out. He shouted with intensity. If everyone here has a burning desire to keep living and make it out of this place, then please join me and fight together. They asked each other, join forces and fight. With a monster legion as numerous and fierce as that, that's certainly not a force we can easily run away from and survive. Someone retorted, that is truly impossible. Right now we don't even have any weapons or protective armor on us. A guy didn't even have a shirt on. All of everyone's precious combat gear had already been stripped away completely by those low-life criminals. Right. As it happens, Yukito was secretly a big-time supplier. You don't need to worry about that. I happen to have plenty of combat gear right here. He swiped his hand across the screen and piles of items spilled out from his inventory. Yukito declared, this much treasure is actually more than enough to supply everyone. Everyone widened their eyes at the pile of sparkling items. Please feel free to choose and use any weapon you feel most comfortable with. If you really want, I can even transfer full permanent ownership of these items to you right now. They found it hard to believe. Are you really serious about this incredibly generous offer? Aren't all of these rare items that dropped from this very dungeon? They knew their gear. The thing is, these were all Tier 5 extremely rare treasures. How on earth could he have collected such a large amount? That's just mind-blowing. They began to wonder about Yukito's background, the weird genius standing in front of them. Who in the world is he exactly? I've never seen his name appear on the top adventurer rankings before. Has anyone here ever heard of him? Some were already putting on armor and choosing their weapons. If that's the case, I'll take this long sword. That's not fair at all. Then I'll take this mighty battle spear. They were very satisfied with the rare gear. After all, protective armor was much more important than attack weapons. This shield is a perfect fit for my build. A young man marveled at the sword he chose. This expensive treasure, if taken to the open market, could definitely sell for a massive fortune. A female mage asked in disbelief, "Do you really intend to give all these luxury items to us for free?" Yukito confirmed, "Of course that is exactly the case. However, and this is by no means a forced requirement, would you all be willing to yield supreme command of the coming battle to me alone?" She asked everyone what they thought of this proposal. The guy next to her replied, "Personally, I think that is actually extremely reasonable and sound. After all, he is our great benefactor who saved us from a total disaster." Others agreed. "And he was even generous enough to gift us this incredibly valuable combat gear. I completely agree with this plan. I will definitely obey all of your instructions and combat orders without question." "Me too. I absolutely do not want to end my life miserably and become leftovers for that horrific monster riot." Seeing their consensus, Yukito said, "My sincere thanks to everyone." Remembering his past life of being shunned, Yukito felt a surge of emotion in his heart. He continued, "Thank you for trusting me." Yukito's appreciation made them feel very confident. His attitude became more serious. Yukito raised his hand to illustrate, "Let's work together to make the most of the overwhelming advantage provided by the narrow and rugged structure of this cave, turning it into a powerful weapon against the enemy. With this formation, we will only have to face a very limited and small number of enemies at any one time. All troops maintain high focus. Our sole goal is to wear them down and reduce their numbers as effectively as possible." The team's expressions became stern. The mage girl memorized these instructions carefully. With them, Yukito felt more confident. He pointed his sword toward the swarm of locusts. The life-or-death battle officially began. The first one was crushed under Yukito's foot. He swung his sword forward. The locusts were attacked by all sorts of powers, scorched by flames. The archers, mages, and the vanguard Yukito all coordinated smoothly. Countless streams of energy were launched like a dazzling, colorful performance. Outside, the locust swarm was still thick. They clung densely to the cave walls and ground. Some used their jaws to bite into the ground. Then they swarmed into the cave. Someone cursed, "Damn it! Their numbers are truly overwhelming beyond any imagination." Another person, while slashing, said, "It's as if there is no end to their bloodthirsty army." Yukito realized that continuing to fight this way, won't get us anywhere. Are we really capable of holding them off and resisting them like this forever? Just then, rock debris fell from above. He exclaimed, "The ceiling of the cave is—" Another person continued, "It's showing signs of cracking and collapsing." He shouted, "All troops withdraw immediately, but do not, I repeat, do not break formation or create chaos." On the cave ceiling, many cracks appeared. Rubble fell more and more. They ran just before the cave collapsed. The wind locusts chased after them. They realized these grotesque creatures were frantically biting and burrowing through the entire structure of this mountain range. "What on earth are we supposed to do now? We are gradually being pushed back and losing our tactical advantage." Yukito turned to observe the situation inside. He silently assessed that this place was actually an abandoned mine with a very loose structure that had never been fully completed. Suddenly, Yukito noticed a stick of explosives in the corner of the cave. His eyes fixed intensely on it. Yukito guessed it was plastic explosive. It was likely that the wandering criminals had prepared it beforehand to expand their lair and base. He picked it up. At this life-or-death moment, this could very well become a highly useful weapon. A notification displayed, "Successfully collected low-quality plastic explosives." He ordered the team, "Everyone listen up. If you happen to find any sticks of plastic explosives lying around, pick them up immediately." Someone picked one up casually. Plastic explosives. That thing could indeed be used as an offensive weapon. So the others also rushed to pick them up. Yukito saw the team fighting intensely. He understood that we had been through a desperate and a breathless fight to resist the horrific onslaught of the death locust swarm. Everyone had been fighting valiantly for many long hours. 2/3 of the base area in the mountain range had been completely devastated and heavily destroyed. A girl looked toward the cliff edge. At this moment, we have been completely pushed into a corner. There's no way out. Other members said fearfully, my stamina reserves have been completely depleted. This solid defensive wall definitely won't be able to hold out for much longer. Yukito frowned, seeing them cornered. He closed his eyes. If the situation had reached such a critical point, Yukito declared, everyone here, immediately gather and hand over all the plastic explosives you are holding for me to handle alone. Someone threw them toward him, saying, if that's what we have to do, fine. But the number of enemies out there is too great for us to wipe them all out just by throwing bombs manually like this. Another girl worried, such an action is after all just a drop in the ocean. Yukito received the bundle of explosives. That's not a problem at all. You don't need to worry. My plan is to detonate them directly to collapse the entire colossal cliff face and bury those damned enemies underneath forever. He added them all to the system inventory. The grotesque monsters possessed intelligence stats. They are incredibly low-level and underdeveloped, so they will always instinctively prioritize attacking the targets that pose the greatest threat to their colony. And in this current real-life situation, the one holding the highest kill count against the monsters is none other than me. Dynamite is thrown into the cave as a young man anxiously looks up at the hole in the cave ceiling. Terror is up there. It's about to collapse completely at any second. Yukito commands everyone to hurry up and give it everything they've got to escape right now. Everyone realizes, could it be that you're planning to sacrifice your own life to take that swarm of Reaper locusts down with you? A normal soldier doesn't even know the proper way to use explosives accurately. Isn't that right? Yukito's voice is strangely calm. Please, everyone, put your trust in me just this once. Debris falls down, followed by a dense swarm of locusts flying toward him. Yukito understands the truth of life in everyone's journey. There are always fateful moments where we are forced to accept the gamble and plunge into the most dangerous risks, and it seems that fateful moment has found me right now. He taps the screen to trigger 13 sticks of plastic explosive all at once. With precision, Yukito finishes and immediately leaps high into the air, shouting, "Come at me, you cursed, bloodthirsty locusts!" A red warning notification displays from the system. You currently do not possess the specialized skill to master explosives. Success rate. DAP for successful detonation has dropped severely by 50%. He thinks to himself, as a normal soldier, my success rate for detonation is incredibly low. But what if I rely on my maxed out luck stat instead? The system warning repeats. This is a low-quality product. Success rate for detonation continues to drop by another 25%. He prays silently, please just let it work. Luck smiled upon him once more as the notification confirmed the item process had been successful. Yukito was overjoyed. It had actually worked. The explosives triggered, a massive fireball erupted, and the locusts were blown to bits. The cave started to crack. He dragged the swarm down with him while desperately trying to keep himself safe. He landed on a ledge and nimbly leaped across the rocks, his body incredibly agile. Yukito raised his silver sword, delivering a slash that split a massive boulder in two. Explosive heavy strike! Yukito glared coldly at his opponent, the last one standing, and muttered, "You're still alive, you stubborn, persistent monster. Refusing to go down, huh?" Seeing Yukito closing in, the creature bared its fangs in a vicious display. He unleashed another explosive heavy strike, slicing the locust in half with a powerful glowing arc of sword energy. Yukito leaped back up. His expression had softened, the tension gone. Up above, the others were pointing out the giant monster. "It's trying to weaken our morale. Short-range attacks won't reach it." Hearing that, he frowned and jammed his sword into the cliff face. But the blade slipped from the rock and Yukito plummeted. He had been so close to succeeding. A rope was thrown down. "Quick, give it everything you've got and hold on tight." It wrapped around his wrist, and Yukito gripped the lifeline for dear life. Everyone pull him back. Yukito smiled faintly as he was brought to safety. The sky had turned orange as sunset fell. Below the cliff, the ground was littered with locust carcasses and rubble. He sat high up, looking at the scene, realizing that based on the current situation, he had completely won. A resounding victory in this high-stakes gamble with death. Everyone cheered, "We've finally been saved." The fact that there wasn't a single casualty during such a horrific monster swarm was truly a miracle of nature. He smiled slightly as he heard their cheers and a notification appeared. Successfully eliminated a large number of locusts. Damage dealt increased by 20%. Against insectoid mutant monsters. Your level has increased by 3. You have successfully learned a brand new skill, titled Warrior's Intuition. When Kito heard the news, he kicked his table in a rage. The horrific monster swarm has been completely wiped. Swept away and destroyed, not a single one left. Even our secret hideout has been razed to the ground. If this terrible situation continues, I'll surely be finished off by the higher-ups. All this disaster is entirely the fault of that bastard. He grabbed a bottle of booze nearby, took a huge gulp, and still not satisfied, hurled the bottle against the wall. With a loud crash, he gritted his teeth and declared, "I will kill him with my own hands at any cost to get my revenge, even if it means sacrificing my own pathetic life." The scene shifts to Yukito back at the reception desk. Everyone was watching him since that fateful moment. This made Yukito feel quite shy. He seemed to have gained some fame and recognition among the adventurers. The receptionist congratulated him, another glorious, heroic feat achieved. "I understand everything now," he replied with a sheepish smile. "Thank you very much." Someone whispered about him. "That's him, Yukito, the man dubbed the Master of Volcano Crushing. I heard he just went out and saved others from a crisis again." Several parties approached him, inviting him to join. "Please, I beg of you, be merciful and accept our invitation to join our combat group." "No, that won't do. You should join my guild instead. That's clearly the best choice." He refused and hurried away. "I am so sorry, everyone, but right now I'm quite content with my life as it is." He thought to himself that he had no intention of forming a group or a team. Because if he did that, the process of searching for and obtaining the elixir of resurrection would become incredibly unstable with no guarantees. The item distribution mechanism in group battles has always followed the system's random rules. Furthermore, the items that drop, belonging to other players, usually have a much lower scarcity rate. That is why even if your luck stat reaches the absolute peak, it is not an omnipotent power in every situation. Regardless, throughout my own miserable previous life, I have always had to fight alone in the shadows, so the current situation isn't really anything new to me. He returned home at dusk. Iyuku had set a lavish dinner to welcome her son. "Welcome home. My dear Iyukito, hurry up and eat your fill just the way you like it." Iyukito obediently put his hands together. "Thank you, Mom, for this delicious meal." Nozomi echoed the sentiment. "I also sincerely thank you, Mom, for this wonderful meal." Yukito sat down and took a bite. It was such a familiar, nostalgic taste. Our family has always been a warm sanctuary. He never once missed a single important anniversary. No matter how poor their circumstances were, Nozomi still offered her praise. "The fact that you have the ability to take on the challenges of the 20th floor of the dungeon right now is truly astonishing and something to be proud of," Yuku asked with concern. "But are you really sure you'll be completely safe on this trip? You know it's a dangerous mission, right?" She showed him a video, and she herself felt incredibly worried and anxious for him. "Hey! Hasn't the success rate for clearing the 20th floor of the dungeon always been less than 15%?" the text on the phone screen displayed. The adventurer's news site listed the 20th floor as an extreme challenge zone with a pass rate hovering at a measly under 15%, Yuku reminded him. "Absolutely no smart electronic devices allowed while we're eating." He reassured them that everything would turn out fine. "Both Mom and you have seen my glorious achievements with your own eyes over this past time. Isn't that right?" She looked at the newspaper clipping about her son pasted on the wall. Mom really felt so happy and proud to see Yukito doing such admirable things. And something so noble. The anxiety didn't fade at all. "But listen to Mom. Please never force yourself to take on risks beyond what you can handle, because there isn't a single parent in this world who could ever be happy having to helplessly watch their beloved child throw away and sacrifice their life for nothing." Yukito remembered the day she passed away in his previous life. He said gently, and there wouldn't be any filial child who would want to see their parents have to suffer through the agony of illness. Yuku intended to keep advising him, but Nozomi chimed in from the side to reassure her mom, "This is truly a duty I cannot avoid. My brother has always been incredibly stubborn. Once he sets his mind to doing something, there isn't a single person on this earth capable of swaying or changing his mind." He reminded her of someone, "Oh my, when it comes to that personality trait. You really are exactly like your late father back in the day." Yukito replied. "Anyway, everyone, please, just stay absolutely calm and don't worry too much about it. I chose to take on this arduous journey simply because it is something I truly desire." They felt more at ease and enjoyed the reunion meal together. He recalled how during his terrible previous life he had been completely helpless and unable to reach out to save his beloved mother's life. That cruel and heartbreaking truth still stuck deep in his heart to this very day like a sharp, painful stake. to completely wipe away those painful memories of the past and truly open a new chapter for this entirely new life. I must obtain that miracle potion of resurrection at any cost. After finishing the meal, he put his hands together in gratitude and said, "Thank you for the delicious meal." Yukito continued his journey into the dungeon, his footsteps descending the stairs. The notification displayed Tokyo Dungeon 20th floor area spatial transfer complete. Success, the alchemist's super-physical boss. Yukito dashed toward the two monsters in front of him. They watched the newcomer vigilantly. Yukito knew clearly that all the hideous monsters appearing on this dungeon floor belonged to the mutated inorganic species. A single sword strike finished them off. He was well aware of the danger here. These cold-blooded, ruthless killers with no hearts were a truly terrifying threat to adventurers. A monster chased him from behind. Yukito remained extremely calm, maintaining his speed. He knew their weaknesses. However, viewed from another perspective, their patterns of thinking and action strictly followed rigid formulaic rules. That monster was taken down by Yukito. His footsteps stopped at a location where a boss monster was watching Yukito. Its footsteps thundered on the ground. He already had a way to deal with it. He just needed to concentrate on analyzing and accurately understanding their operational patterns. As soon as the monster raised its fist, Yukito successfully dodged the punch. Even though the opponent attacked continuously, it still couldn't lay a finger on him. The moment to counterattack had arrived. Yukito swung his sword down. He believed that he would certainly be able to easily conquer and clear out this entire dangerous dungeon floor. The sword slashed straight into the monster's chest. Yukito landed. At the same time, the monster's body collapsed with a thud. He approached a solid gate and pushed it open. "Let's go. Today is the day I will definitely change the destiny of my life with my own hands." Inside was a vast ancient stone arena. The door behind Yukito slammed shut. In front of him, a magic circle flared, revealing the figure of an ancient stone giant. Red light covered its body. It even had moss growing on it. Yukito knew he was facing the ancient stone giant, the supreme boss creature ruling over the 20th floor of the dungeon. This time, the enemy possessed an incredibly sturdy body. Stubborn and possessing an absolutely terrifying offensive power, but that's all he's got. For a boss-level monster, his movement speed is just mediocre and unremarkable. Yukito slashes the creature for the first time. He understands the principle. He just needs to stay patient and focus on systematically destroying every structural part of its body. And finally, pour all his strength into shattering the energy core, its fatal weak point, to secure a resounding victory. Kito, watching Yukito from afar, smirks. Kito hides behind a door, watching him fight the ancient stone formation as it emits red energy. Another monster is summoned. This was beyond Yukito's expectations. What the? Another boss monster just popped up out of nowhere. He stares at the sealed door behind him. This is absolutely impossible. There's an intruder in the boss room, but around here, there isn't a single human soul in sight. Then again, that actually makes perfect sense. Intentionally interfering with or interrupting a boss fight is a huge taboo. Even the greenest, most clueless rookie wouldn't make such a stupid mistake, leading to the activation of a dangerous double raid like this, especially in a place as dangerous as the 20th floor of the dungeon. Yukito glances at the blade flying toward him. To put it simply, he swings his sword and swats the projectile away. Yukito has confirmed it. This terrifying turn of events doesn't seem like a random accident at all. Kito grinds his teeth as his sneak attack fails. He hides even deeper. So that bastard... And he finally realized something was off, did he? But my absolute overwhelming advantage remains entirely intact. You little brat, you really are nothing but a fool. Nothing more, nothing less. This supreme boss monster was never intended to be taken on by a single individual alone. I've checked the adventurer's database. For the ancient stone giant on the 20th floor, the recommended party size is at least 4 people. I intentionally entered the boss room after you to force a second boss to appear. All to finish you off, and I don't have to worry about being targeted or attacked by this monster at all, because my current job is a high-level rogue with abilities far superior to a pathetic warrior like you. I can easily erase my entire presence completely thanks to my top-tier stealth skills. Kito activates his cat's footwork skill, actively diverting all the enemy's attention, and aggro to another target. After successfully provoking the ancient stone, Kito activates his phantasm interference skill. He feels very confident. I can dump all this catastrophe and danger squarely onto your shoulders alone. What's more, today I even brought along my special treasure, the Cloak of Ultimate Invisibility. This gear minimizes the perception of any hostile entities nearby. With the help of this divine item, you won't even be able to catch a glimpse of where I'm hiding. The situation right now is effectively a death match of 3 against 2 ancient stones attacking you at once. He pours a liquid from a vial onto his blade. And from my position in the shadows, I can freely unleash lethal attacks on you all by myself. The blade flies toward Yukito from behind. His plan is simple. I'll just slowly drive you into a corner without any rush at all. As the blade grazes Yukito's cheek, a notification appears. Performing a check on the trigger effect of the deadly poison. Result failure. Kito gets annoyed and changes his position. Failed again. Is there really some kind of deadly poison resistance gear inside that flimsy, pathetic armor he's wearing? Whatever. It doesn't matter. This throwing blade was after all just a tool to distract his vision. He launches countless other hidden weapons. Kito also throws circular orbs. This is the real terrifying weapon I've painstakingly prepared for you. It's a deadly trap system. For me, fighting alone has always been the most reliable and safe method in this world. Instead of putting my trust in useless, unreliable teammates, letting these dependable traps do the work for me is the smartest choice. He wraps iron wires around 2 pillars, conducting electricity through them. Kito also prepares explosives. By setting up multiple layers of overlapping traps, I will directly limit and strangle his entire range of movement completely. Kito smirks to himself, and then, that giant boss monster will take care of everything for me, automatically finishing him off with the countless traps waiting behind it. As Yukito flies up to the wall to wait, I can just sit back, relax, and enjoy this spectacular show. You shout while fighting. Kito is startled, suddenly getting a bad feeling. Yukito sneers, "Tell me, have you finally run out of your cheap little magical tricks? Is that right?" He is shocked when you look toward him. What? How could he possibly have pinpointed my perfectly hidden position? Yukito reaches down and picks up a sword. Come on now. Don't just stand there in silence. Speak up and say something, will you? You return the weapon to its owner. You've been stalking me and tailing me for quite a long distance. It must be because you've grown to truly admire and adore me, hasn't it? He frantically dodges the lunging sword. Damn it, how on earth can a bastard like you know my exact position like that? Yukito reveals, how do I know where you are? That's a famous and common skill that just about everyone knows. You know it. Kito brushes it off. Don't you dare lie to me. How could a low-level, pathetic skill like that be capable of working on a high-ranking thief like me? You smile coldly. But what if everything I just said wasn't a lie at all? Are you getting ready to turn tail and run away in absolute terror now? Kito is enraged by the provocation. He declares, don't you dare look down on me so soon. I am the one who holds the superior position here. I am above you, and I am far better than you in every way. The two of them begin to clash. You swing your sword, sending the thief flying backward. Yukito laughs. That arrogant talk is in the end just a saying, and that only the one who survives to the very end has the right to utter. Isn't that right? Kito's body hits the ground with a thud. He can't believe it. You say you found my position using something as mediocre and cheap as warrior's intuition. You are truly just spouting nonsense. You think to yourself, but what I just said wasn't a lie at all. Before this, the notification displayed that the skill Warrior's Intuition was activated. Warrior's Intuition is a skill that inherently possesses the ability to detect and uncover hidden threats lurking in the surrounding environment. In reality, the success rate of this skill has always been extremely low, a 99% failure rate with a standard success rate of only 0.9%. And the chance of reaching a great success is a mere 0.1%. However, with my sky-high luck stat, that so-called rule of probability, becomes completely meaningless and ridiculous. System notification, great success status. Scan complete. Detected every single threat currently present on this battlefield. Yukito has pinpointed the opponent's location. Kito lunges again. You really do have relatively fast movement speed for the standard rank of a warrior of your level. You raise your sword ready for round 2. Oh, well then, I sincerely thank you for that compliment. 2 glowing sword strikes collide. Kito says with contempt, but in the end you will forever be trapped in that pathetic warrior class. He is very confident. My actual agility stat is far superior and higher than yours, and of course, while my accuracy stat for every single strike is as well, a cut grazes your skin. Yukito's display notification checks for paralysis effects. Result, successfully dodged. Kito speaks up. I will temporarily acknowledge you and give you credit for being well prepared with countermeasures against body-debilitating status effects. Yukito is behind him, preparing to strike. You pour all your strength into this one blow. Kito turns around, but he dodges the slash. You are still at this moment standing in the position of a loser. Yukito is calm. Skill B, Sting Venom. Kito sees it and laughs. Skill Bee Sting Venom has been unleashed, but he has a counter-strategy. Activate Skill Butterfly Dance. The butterflies fly toward Yukito just as you strike at Kito. Seeing him successfully retreat, you are annoyed. He actually managed to easily dodge that dangerous attack. Then Kito lunges again. Once two conflicting and countering skills collide, a move that is guaranteed to hit versus a skill that guarantees a perfect dodge, the final deciding factor of success or failure lies in the actual values of your stats. The properties held by both sides, a deep gash sliced across his thigh, drawing blood. Yukito had to retreat, hissing in pain. The guy mocked him, "A sluggish, stiff warrior like you will never, ever lay a hand on me." A red glow shimmered above the ancient stone, locking onto its target. A powerful blast of energy surged out, and Yukito ducked low to dodge it. Kito dodged it as well. The scenery here on the 20th floor is truly magnificent and ideal, don't you think? The guy was now being pinned down by the ancient stone. Kito had managed to escape. It chased after him the supreme insect monster that ruled this place, a creature that always moved and acted according to fixed theoretical patterns. That's why you can easily dodge its attacks without even needing to waste effort looking with your own eyes. You must have spent a fortune buying all those classified intelligence reports from the Adventurers Guild, right? Isn't that right? Yukito calmly raised his sword to block. The two of them locked blades again. Yukito gritted his teeth and snarled, "You son of a bitch!" He glanced at the sharp, hidden traps beneath his feet. Kito said smugly, "You won't have a single path left to live. There's no way you're escaping my web of traps. Tell me up until this very moment. Have you finally started to realize the problem in your heart? Don't you agree? This 20th floor area has absolutely no fluctuations or irregularities whatsoever. My glorious victory was completely guaranteed from the very first stage of preparation. Skill. Activate Cliff Scorpion Death Stinger." Yukito tried to block the attack, but he was careless and got hit. His sword hand went limp and his back slammed against the wall behind him. Yukito winced in pain and his sword clattered to the ground with a sharp ring. His face went dark at the situation. Kito lunged forward, excited. "The time has come for me to officially end your life." Kito had no room left to retreat. The guy declared, "Prepare your spirit to meet your death." He screamed as the guy's dual blades came at him. Then Yukito's expression shifted. "I was just joking around with you a little for fun." He pressed a tile behind him, and an orb activated, trapping Kito inside. The guy was shocked. "What, isn't this an incredibly dangerous gravity trap?" Kito repeated, "You just opened your mouth to swear that there wasn't a single irregularity or fluctuation in this place, didn't you? But the truth is a massive variable is present right here. Isn't that so?" Kito realized his jaw muscles had suddenly frozen. He couldn't move them normally anymore. He spoke with difficulty. "What the hell is going on here?" "What the hell are you trying to say?" He revealed, "All the classified tactical information that we've all had access to and understood up until now was only ever applicable under perfectly normal conditions. No one could have foreseen a scenario where some idiot would blindly jump in and interrupt a monster battle." Kito the guy realized what he meant. "In other words..." The ancient stone's fist was about to come down. Yukito dodged nimbly and continued, "With the unexpected appearance of a dangerous double raid, the actual terrain of the boss room has completely changed into another state. Even though you bear the title of a high-ranking rogue, you don't even have the ability to detect the layout of the traps around you." Kito screamed in protest, "Don't you dare mock and look down on me. A guy like you, even if you have a warrior-class job." He went silent as he took a full punch from the ancient stone to the face. Kito's body was sent flying toward the wall behind him. He wheezed, "How could this absurdity possibly happen?" The two ancient stones locked onto their target. The ancient stone's hands slammed down, a loud thud echoed, and the ground cracked. Kito couldn't accept it. "Even my top-tier specialty skills for searching and scouting couldn't detect its existence. This is clearly a top-grade artifact, a trap hidden with extreme precision. What the hell is your background anyway?" Yukito replied, "Like I told you before, this is all thanks to a warrior's intuition. I kept emphasizing that to you from the very beginning. Isn't that right?" Kito was so badly injured he spat blood. He warned, "Just stay there quietly and behave yourself. If you're lucky enough to stay alive after I finish off that insect monster with my own hands, I'll make sure to hand you over to the police, Yukito. Facing two ancient stone monsters alone, don't you dare stand there and mock me." Sensing danger, he spun around and screamed, "Now that things have reached a dead end like this, I swear I'll drag you down to hell with me to pay for my life." Several sticks of dynamite were pulled out. Kito's body was wrapped in explosives. "This stuff is on a completely different level compared to the cheap trash you snatched earlier. Yukito shouted. "You've completely lost your mind." "Haven't I, Thal?" He prepared to tap the screen. Die! Kito's finger hit the Z button. A violent explosion erupted. A wave of heat surged toward Yukito. He used his sword to block it. The shockwave hit the ground. The floor began to crack. Everything started blowing up and debris fell continuously. Even Yukito fell down. His body hit the dark floor of the level below with a thud. Yukito felt pain all over. He looked up. The height was truly too much. He couldn't force himself to stand up immediately anymore. I never anticipated that right here. There would be such a perilous secret room hidden away. The ancient stone monsters also fell from above their massive bodies, preparing to land. A heavy, resounding crash echoed. Yukito was in a critical situation. He was completely trapped here. Suddenly, a golden light shone. He saw a golden chest. What on earth is this thing appearing right before my eyes? Yukito's luck exploded when he discovered the treasure chest. He realized, so that's how it was. A carefully hidden room is usually a place to store priceless treasures. Worthy of being strictly guarded, yet the size of this room is... Yukito was surrounded by two stone monsters. It was too cramped and stifling. There is absolutely no space for me to perform any dodging skills. I absolutely cannot defeat both of these insect monsters at the same time in one battle, draining stamina in the usual way. In this life-or-death moment, I have no choice but to gamble the entire fate of my life on that treasure chest. Yukito tried to slip between the stone monster's legs to run toward the chest. Two fists slammed down. Yukito narrowly escaped with his life. The old wound on his leg, what stung with pain. Yukito jumped off the stone monster, then slid down toward the treasure chest. The monster behind him unleashed its power. The other one also targeted him. The force slammed into his back. As the monster's fist swung, Yukito threw his sword forward and rested against a corner of the wall. Yukito let out a sigh of relief. Everything was still perfectly fine. Luckily, his spine wasn't crushed or broken. His face was covered in scratches, but his eyes were resolute. Yukito stood up, preparing to face the stone monsters again. He felt danger behind him. His body was struck and knocked to the ground. Yukito screamed in pain. His entire lower body was soaked in blood. Yukito's breathing was ragged. He was exhausted. Yukito clenched his fists, swearing that he would absolutely never choose to give up or surrender so easily. This intense pain coursed through his whole body, making him feel like he might vomit right then and there. He was very close to the treasure chest, but so what? Another attack came from behind. Yukito was in such pain, his eyes rolled back and he coughed up blood on the spot. He refused to give up. Compared to the utter despair of a useless loser, for 75 long years in his previous life, this small injury was nothing at all. Yukito crawled toward the treasure chest and shouted, "I won't even deign to call this suffering." Yukito touched the chest. An item appeared. It was a ring. Seeing this, Yukito smiled faintly. A symbol glowed on the stone surface of the ring. One stone monster had reached behind him while another was gathering energy. Yukito touched the item, just as I always thought. Yukito put it on his hand. I definitely have enough courage and the necessary qualities to turn this fate around. What he put on was a spatial teleportation ring. He secretly rejoiced. A teleportation ring is a rare treasure. It allows the owner to move freely, to any location at will. A perfect piece of equipment and couldn't be more suitable for his current desperate situation. The system issued a choice. Do you want to activate the spatial teleportation ring now, yes or no? Behind Yukito, the stone monster was continuously slamming its fists into the floor. System warning: danger. Your current profession is completely incompatible with this item. This magic, the success rate of activation is severely reduced, minus 50%. One of the stone monster's hands was raised. System update warning: danger from the system. Your magic index is currently below the standard to use this item. The success rate, continued to drop significantly, minus 35%. Just as it was about to slam down on Yukito, the total success rate was a mere 15%. The system began the calculation process. And checking the swirls on the ring, they started to glow with individual spirals. A teleportation gate formed. As the monster's blow descended, he vanished. The ring was activated just in time. System update: spatial teleportation successful. Yukito teleported behind the stone monster. He slashed at the mana core inside it. Yukito swore that at any cost he must win glory. Finally, the remaining stone monster sensed his position and turned around. It fired energy toward Yukito, but he had already teleported from that spot. Yukito thought to himself, You really are an incredibly stubborn and tough entity, even after taking massive damage from that terrifying explosion just now. And you still refuse to go down. Actually, that's even better, isn't it? The space-shifting process was a success. Keep targeting that mana core. He was just about to plunge his sword in his body, already so accustomed to the monotony of repeating the same action, when suddenly Yukito's whole body stumbled backward. After the stone golem got up, he fell beneath the next one as it came crashing toward him, throwing a massive punch while the system began its calculations. And as it scanned, he vanished right before its eyes. Yukito reappeared behind the golem and swung his blade down, but just as it turned its head, he shifted behind another one. Even if I have to endure this and do it all over again, Yukito told himself. No matter how many times it takes. He drove his sword into the mana core, more determined than ever to shatter the outer shell. I will never ever give in. I won't just roll over or give up easily. Its body collapsed, and this time Yukito slashed right through the center of the golem and shifted behind the remaining one. Cracks appeared on the surface of the internal mana core. Yukito kept hacking away with persistence, and as he unleashed countless strikes, the blue mana core began to fissure. Along with countless space shifts, both of the golem's sights locked onto the same point, but Yukito just hovered right in front of them. Rather than sitting there helplessly, praying for a lucky 6 to roll on the dice of destiny, he decided he would keep rolling those dice himself. He would keep at it until that 6 finally appeared. As their cannons glowed red, he gauged the space between their two fists just as they were about to crush him. He instantly activated his shift bracelet, his figure fading away. That was his own personal way of doing things. His style. The two golems' fists slammed into each other. With a thunderous boom, the purple mana core cracked further. Yukito shifted to a new position, appearing right behind the other golem. Yukito drove his sword straight into the mana core, purple shards flying everywhere. He thought to himself, facing a massive, mindless, and soulless stone golem head-on. He vanished right in front of it and appeared atop its head, activating a heavy explosive strike. He believed that his resilient fighting spirit and iron determination would absolutely never be defeated or conquered. What he was aiming for was that sight. A powerful sword strike came crashing down, purple shards scattering through the air. Yukito was starting to tire, his face covered in blood, while the golem was slowly dissolving. His body hovered ready to collapse as a red notification flashed. System alert, danger. Item usage limit reached. Please recharge energy. To continue, he had to stop. Yukito collapsed to the ground and the golem vanished without a trace. A notification appeared. Adventurer Yukito has successfully eliminated the monster. Supreme Boss Giant Stone Golem. Adventurer Yukito has successfully eliminated the second monster, Supreme Boss Giant Stone Golem. Player Yukito has been lucky enough to obtain a legendary grade item, the Supreme Resurrection Potion Elysia. Light from the item shone onto Yukito's face, revealing 2 floating vials. He was overjoyed to see this. Yukito grabbed a vial, used his mouth to pry the cap off, and drank the first one to recharge his energy. Right after drinking it, he felt something strange. A feeling of surging energy filled his body, and the wounds on his legs began to heal. Yukito glanced at his hand, not a scratch left, and satisfied, he flopped down onto the ground. Light from above shone down into this dark place. Yukito gazed at that light, held the remaining vial, and said, by some miracle, I actually managed to survive. A notification appeared. Congratulations! You have successfully completed hidden special conditions. The system is now bestowing glorious titles upon Yukito. Title Great Survivor, reward plus 10 Vitality. Title Lone Slayer of the Two Giants, reward plus 20 Strength. Title Supreme Dispenser of Justice, reward plus 10 Agility. Yukito added the precious potion to his inventory, looking with satisfaction at what he had bled to obtain. Yukito looked up, gathered his strength, and launched himself upward. Using the walls for leverage, he jumped toward the opening above, finally landing on the surface. A piece of Kito's clothing lay blood-soaked in a corner. Only now did Yukito remember that guy. Only a blood-stained cloak remained here. He wondered if this would be enough solid evidence to expose all of Kito's disgusting crimes. Yukito grabbed the cloak and walked toward the door, placing his hand on it to push it open. The outside light hit his face. The 2 large doors slowly creaked open. Yukito returned to the guild hall. Immediately after returning to the surface, he proceeded to report the entire terrifying ordeal to the Adventurers Guild. The receptionist saw the blood-soaked cloak and panicked. He thought, judging by how things are going, it seems I've just achieved something incredibly huge and shocking. The receptionist spoke up. I will immediately contact a high-ranking official to come down here and handle this directly. As with you. Yukito had predicted it. Everything seemed about to cause a massive uproar and shock within the adventurer community. Someone came to find him, Our guild is very eager to have an interview, so with you directly for media and promotional purposes. Yukito gripped the potion in his hand, but at this moment he had absolutely no time to spare for any of that. He turned them down. I am terribly sorry to everyone, but right now I have some very urgent and pressing work. Could you please move this appointment to another day? Yukito sped off toward home. His footsteps never faltered. His sole focus at this moment was clear. He had to rush back and get this miraculous resurrection elixir into his mother's hands. As he hurried, people around started noticing him. Hey, look over there! Isn't that the guy standing on the other side? Yukito, the guy who's all over the news lately? The massive LED screen on the street was airing a breaking news report. He'd just shattered the record for the fastest clear of the 20th floor of the Dark Dungeon, single-handedly taking down 2 supreme boss monsters at once. But he didn't care about any of that. He had to move as fast as he possibly could. Yukito stopped in front of his house, ran up the stairs, and turned the doorknob. Inside, Nozomi and Iyuku greeted him happily. Welcome home, so glad you're back safe and sound with the family. Yukito held up the bottle for them to see. I finished the job and I'm finally back. Yuku was taken to the hospital for a follow-up. The doctor finally brought the results from the deep dive detailed checkups. The 2 siblings waited tensely for the doctor to speak. I'll get straight to the point without beating around the bush. The horrific illness that has been torturing your mother's body is now completely and thoroughly cured. He joyfully asked, Are the words the doctor just said really true? Is it really true? The doctor confirmed, yes it is. The resurrection power of that legendary Alicia elixir was truly miraculous beyond anything a human could imagine. Nozomi hugged her mom tight. Mom, this is just, it's all so wonderful and happy. I feel so joyful and relieved. Yuku grabbed his hand. All these incredible miracles today are all thanks to the massive effort and the sacrifices made by you alone, Yukito, for our family. Thank you so much, my dear dutiful son. Yukito stood still for a moment, then replied, Mom, thank you too for always loving, protecting, and raising us until we grew. Made up to be who we are today. His heart surged with emotion. He finally had the chance to say those sacred words himself. This was the deepest wish he had been longing to express for so long. Nozomi teased, Oh my God, big brother. We're still standing right in front of the head doctor, you know. If you have things to say, can't we just go home and talk about it properly later? Yukito bashfully replied, My sister is right, I was a bit careless. She wiped her tears. Honestly, that's just how he is. Sometimes my big brother gets so focused on his own thoughts that he doesn't even notice what's happening in the world around him at all. Their happy family scene was being watched by someone through the window. The stranger spoke, This happy scene of theirs is truly heartbreaking and regrettable, knowing that a small, tight-knit family full of such sincerity and warmth is forced to suffer the fate of having their happiness ripped away and pushed into tragedy. Grief is the only comfort and salvation for this plan. Because this is a large general hospital, our medical team has exhausted every bit of our professional expertise, yet we are completely powerless and unable to save their lives. The families of the deceased will likely have to face that harsh reality and choose to just give up. The cause of death was determined to be sudden cardiac arrest. He suddenly appeared and threw a punch at Nozomi. A bright flash of light zipped past. Yukito quickly blocked it with his sword. I didn't expect your reaction to be this fast. Yukito snapped at him. You damn bastard! What kind of pathetic, twisted scheme are you plotting in here, huh? He was surprised. This is truly strange and abnormal. Why on earth are you still able to move your body freely in this space? He shouted firmly, Answer my question immediately, right now! Yukito suddenly realized, wait, that familiar face. Could it be, are you that legendary hero? The noble hero, the adventurer who possesses the most powerful and supreme strength in this world. The one who always stands at #1 on the global adventurer rankings and is the great savior of all humanity. He confirmed that is correct. I am Cosmoroto Ozama, the representative of supreme cosmic justice. Ozama, the prestigious title I hold is Hero, a name. That is legitimate, authentic, and the real deal. Yukito asked, confused. Why on earth? Why would a great hero who always stands for justice be heartless enough to try and harm Nozomi's life? He prompted, Hey, kid, at this moment shouldn't it be my turn to be the one asking the questions? Inside this forbidden void barrier, only those individuals who have personally experienced the terrifying ordeal of a soul's death are qualified to move their bodies freely. And that is exactly why. There is only one conclusion that is perfectly logical and accurate to draw here. which is that by exposing your secret, you yourself are in the end someone who possesses the power to turn back time and be reborn into the past. Am I right? Yukito deduced that, and so speaking of that phrase the second time, it means that you too are currently in your own second life after rebirth, aren't you? Ozama frankly admitted, that's exactly right. If you are also someone who has the power to return from death just like me, then things seem like they will be much easier to resolve. Right now, I am using all the strength I have to work toward eliminating every risk that could lead to the total annihilation of this world. Turning back to look at Nozomi, Yukito asked confused, "But what in the world does my poor little sister have to do with the prospect of the world being destroyed?" He revealed that she is one of the core factors causing it. It is the negative and terrible influence that the girl will have on her future husband that is the dangerous threat I am so particularly concerned and worried about. Surprised, the boy asked, "Nozomi's fated future husband?" Ozama confirmed, "That's the guy. He is an incredibly important figure regarding the survival of this world. Throughout all our past lives, the breakdown and collapse of the marriage with your sister has caused horrific consequences. For his mind, that very corruption of his nature ultimately became one of the deep-seated roots leading to the catastrophe that destroys this entire world. Therefore, I am forced to take the initiative to eliminate your sister before that dark scenario has a chance to unfold in reality. Does my explanation just now make sense enough for someone like you to find it reasonable?" The boy countered, "Everything from the past life and the reality of this current life are two completely different things worlds apart." Ozama exclaimed, "Oh," with interest. Giving Yukito a chance to continue, he pointed toward Yuku. "Open your eyes and look closely. The terrible illness that was eating away at my mother's body has now been completely and thoroughly cured, and because of that, Nozomi will never need to involve herself in working in the complex nightlife entertainment industry just to earn money for mother's medical expenses anymore. Naturally, the two of them will never ever have the chance to meet or get to know each other, and of course, the girl will also never accidentally cross paths on the same road of fate with that man ever again. So at this moment, there is absolutely no justifiable reason for you to heartlessly take Nozomi's life." Ozama said calmly, "Maybe what you just argued is indeed very true. But you know, instead of me having to place my trust in empty promises coming out of your mouth, taking action to eliminate the girl right here and at this very moment will yield a result that is much more certain and reassuring, wouldn't you say?" The boy said resolutely, "Nozomi will absolutely not lose her life before I go down. There is no way that is going to happen." He replied, "This situation is truly a very difficult problem. Honestly, I truly do not want to have to take your life with my own hands if I still have a way to avoid it. Because in the end, my motive for acting has always been just to save everyone. I always wish to keep the number of human casualties at the absolute minimum." Yukito demanded, "If you harbor such thoughts, then get the hell out of here right now." Ozama continued, "Things are not nearly as simple as you think they are. I understand that. Precisely for that reason, help me with all your might and fight me right now, and prove to me just how high your true power level is. Go on, then." Yukito couldn't figure out why on earth things had to lead to such a desperate situation. He hoisted his sword onto his shoulder. "I simply want to verify if you are truly a special entity or not. Whether you are worthy for a hero like me to commit to such a risky gamble or not, that's all." The boy mocked, "That attitude of yours, so high and mighty arrogant and looking down on others, is truly extremely fitting for the title of a legendary hero." Ozama actually smiled brightly and accepted it. "I guess so." He revealed his stat board where all indicators reached 3,000 points. "I am very sorry and apologize for having shown such an attitude toward you." The boy was stunned, unable to believe it. Yukito noticed the indicators on the power scale were too high. Ozama stepped forward leisurely. "But the reality is that I am in fact standing proudly at the very peak of this world. So the cold hard truth right in front of your eyes is this. The gap between you and him, the chasm in terms of true power, is just too massive. It is absolutely not worth you suffering like this, or torturing yourself here. This is simply the pure basic law of this world, that is all. Once you fail to hold true overwhelming power in your own hands, you will never ever have the qualification to protect or shield a single thing, let alone trying to protect this great world. Because of that reason, you must make your fated choice right now. Either accept your helplessness and watch your beloved younger sister perish, or stake your entire life to fight me." Ozama's energy is surging. As it floods over to where he is standing, Yukito asks himself silently what he must do in this dire situation. Should he immediately activate the spatial teleportation bracelet to get both of them out of here together? No running away at this moment is absolutely a useless move. I will never be able to fully protect Nozomi if I have to keep watching over her 24 hours a day every single day. Yukito sighs deeply. He He speaks up fine. I accept. I will fight you with everything I have. Ozama smiles and says, that is how it should be. Now we can finally start talking seriously. However, you do not need to be overly worried. I will never make a demand that you absolutely have to defeat me. I have already activated the countdown timer for the void zone, limiting the existence of this barrier. It is exactly 10 minutes. That is all the time you have to complete your objective, which is to find every possible way to survive and make it out of there. Yukito asks curiously, are we really going to start our battle right here in this area? Is that right? He denies it absolutely not. Ozama climbs onto the windowsill. I absolutely cannot accept letting this battle ravage and destroy this general hospital. He moves first. Let us relocate this battle to a more suitable location. Yukito approaches the window, looking down in the direction he went. He turns back to look at his sister. Yukito tells himself he must protect Nozomi's life at all costs, and then he chases after him, even if it means sacrificing everything. Below the hospital, there is a large enough courtyard. Ozama speaks up. This desolate place is truly an ideal spot for us to battle freely. He replies, please go easy on me. Ozama agrees very well. Then let us begin the warm-up with a little bit of power like this. He lightly snaps his fingers, and countless magic circles appear behind Ozama, all aimed at Yukito. He shouts, that terrifying attack is way beyond the standard. That is quite the introductory lesson. Yukito swings his sword to shatter the incoming attacks, and you can even cast that easily without having to laboriously chant the magic incantations. Ozama denies it. That is not the case at all. That is not true. He creates duplicates of himself. This common power is actually nothing special or major. You yourself should be far too familiar. With battles at this level already, right? Yukito is secretly astonished. They can actually self-replicate and multiply their numbers like that. Ozama continues, accidentally falling into an inescapable encirclement of enemy legions before you even realize the situation is an incident. That happens as frequently as eating rice on the dungeon battlefield, does it not? He is so angry he curses. Like hell, it happens as frequently as that. Yukito selects from his inventory and activates 2 substitute puppets. When Ozama lunges, he quickly blocks. The sheer strength forces them both back. He mocks the substitute puppet. You really seem like a person who knows how to prepare thoroughly for every combat scenario before setting out. You should remember one thing: you will never ever achieve a glorious victory if you keep choosing such a passive defensive playstyle. You know that. Yukito understands clearly what he said. Yes, a giant flame condenses above his head. Yukito draws a scepter. I, of course, know that very well. Being able to wield multiple artifacts all at once is truly a massive advantage and a deadly edge. Ozama thought, glancing up at the fireball hurtling toward him. A violent explosion erupted, sending heat spreading outward. He knew better than to nurture any illusions that this gear alone would be enough to defeat a supreme entity like him. But at the very least, his opponent spoke up. I have fully grasped the situation. So that is the special reincarnation reward that belongs to you alone, isn't it? The exclusive gift that destiny has bestowed upon me alone is this ultimate void barrier. And the supreme power you hold in your hands is nothing but sheer ultimate luck, he thought to himself, though in truth he had just barely struggled. He had only managed to defeat one of his fake artificial clones. Yukito countered, does that mean you already have the ability to see through and peer into everything? Is that right? He replied, indeed, that is just about the case. If one bases it on your recent string of illustrious achievements, that has become all too clear and obvious. He retorted with sarcasm, is a lowly mediocre person who only relies on luck stats like me just a ridiculous joke for you to mock? Ozama said with interest. Well, from my own personal worldview, ultimate luck can in the end be counted as a real part of an adventurer's ability. A remarkable one at that, but in this world, there always exist countless thorny problems that can never be resolved purely by luck alone and for you personally. Right at this very moment in time. I am the kind of solid and invincible obstacle that embodies exactly that. From ice-blue spirits summoned from the spirit realm to the green spirit representing vegetation, there were 4 guardian deities by Ozama's side. Yukito understood that. That's right. It will never ever be the case that relying on luck alone can help you easily seize everything as you wish. He analyzed the situation to himself. But right now, there is only one fatal flaw that I can exploit to fight against this legendary hero. It is based on the stat sheet that I just happened to catch a glimpse of on his body earlier, his actual luck stat. It was at an incredibly low and pathetic level. I absolutely do not want to commit any base or cowardly act. That would make me feel ashamed or unable to hold my head high when telling my loved ones back home, but in this life or death situation, I no longer have the luxury of being able to choose my methods or fighting tactics. It is truly amazing to realize that my mind has absolutely no hesitation or distraction at this moment. That is exactly it, a heart of iron resolve and an oath to do whatever it takes, no matter how ruthless, just to protect the peace of my family. My beloved family. I made that fateful decision a very, very long time ago. Ozama launched a combination of moves. The time has come for me to officially pick up the pace and take this battle to a whole new level, because the cruelty and strictness of this world. As fire surged toward Yukito, he shouted, "We'll never ever stop before a minor, trivial challenge like this. Burn!" He threw a fiery punch as water spirits released a hydro ability. He was waiting. His plan was to thoroughly exploit his own terrible luck stat against him. Yukito's finger pressed onto the spatial ring in his inventory, and then it appeared on his wrist. Yukito had sworn to turn fate with his own hands to pull this inevitable victory to his side. A series of warning notifications displayed from the system. Your current profession is completely incompatible with this item. This supreme magic. Activation success rate severely reduced, -50%. Warning from the system. Your current mana stats do not meet the threshold. Required to use this item. Success rate. Continuing to drop heavily, -35%. The system began calculating and checking the probability as the two forces surged forward. The notification displayed. Spatial transfer process successful. Yukito's eyes flashed with determination. Yukito vanished right before the fire and water collided with him. The entire space was covered in a gloomy color. Everything stood still. Yukito teleported elsewhere. Ozama asked with interest, "Those spatial teleportation bracelets. They are truly extremely convenient and useful, aren't they? But for me personally, flight magic alone is more than enough. The cost of having to recharge energy for that item, the fact that it costs so much just to recharge that thing. I'm sorry to be the one to break it to you, but we really are in a life-or-death battle right here, right now. If you've made up your mind to test my combat abilities, then today I've decided to put you to the test as well. Let's see. If you truly are a hero who stands for justice, then you would never allow innocent people to get caught in the crossfire of this fight. Isn't that right?" Ozama realized why you were blending into the crowd. So this was your strategy all along. A tactic you carefully calculated, huh? That is truly fascinating. It is an undeniable fact that I am a hero who fights for righteousness. I was born and exist in this world with a single mission. To protect and safeguard humanity, I am absolutely forbidden from causing them harm. He snapped his fingers. Because of that, it has become much harder for me to freely use wide-range destructive magic. Behind Ozama, the two spirits vanished. He pulled a sword from thin air. Even just swinging a blade in this area has started to pose unimaginable danger to everyone here. But those obstacles, the volley of blades launched from behind Ozama, don't even count as a handicap or a disadvantage against me. Yukito sheathed his sword. As for how the battle will turn out, we'll just have to wait and see who comes out on top. You pulled out a personal shield. I have to admit you've just increased your own survival rate by a small margin. A shield appeared in Yukito's hand. Ozama continued, "But I have long since grown overly accustomed to handling these kinds of troublesome situations." Then those blasts of power surged toward him. These cunning enemies who use innocent crowds as human shields. I've had to fight and eliminate countless scum like that throughout my previous life. Yukito used his shield to block simultaneously, teleporting from where he stood. He then weaved through the people on the street. Yukito managed to block an incoming arrow with his shield. The arrow ricocheted backward, piercing a water pipe along the street. Water gushed out violently. Ozama walked forward leisurely, ignoring the hideous monsters possessing the ability to perfectly disguise themselves as humans. He touched the ground. A magic formation appeared, from criminals wandering around desperately trying to turn a peaceful town into a lawless criminal base. Countless stone spikes erupted, stabbing toward Yukito. He said terrible incidents like these will only appear with a frequency that grows ever denser as the world drifts toward the brink of total annihilation. You were surprised. So everything in the past really did happen in that direction. As for me, throughout my previous life, and it seems I spent almost every waking moment just burying myself in the exploration of dark dungeons. To me, the world on the surface of the earth was in the end just a temporary place to stop by, and for the sole purpose of finding some food to get through the day. Because of that, I really don't have many deep memories or impressions of it. Ozama commented, "That is truly a great shame. I have always harbored a hope that those of us who have been reincarnated from the dead could sit down together to talk and share a few stories from the old battlefield." Yukito slid under a car to dodge an attack. "There isn't a single story worth telling you because throughout my miserable previous life, I was basically just a pathetic wretch helplessly crawling on the ground like a bug. Ozama swept his leg under the car. That very harsh reality is exactly why you should learn to enjoy the vast open sky in this completely new life of yours. Yukito was lucky to have his shield to block the blow, but the force was so strong it sent him flying into a wall. Yukito struggled to get up. But personally, I belong to the type of person who feels more at peace and calm when I'm in small, confined spaces. Ozama said dismissively, I have absolutely no intention of wasting time looking for a coward as timid as you. You replied, even if you keep hurling insults at me like that. Yukito pulled out a skateboard, his speed increasing significantly. I still cannot change my own nature or the inherent qualities of who I am. Ozama was surprised. You still want to choose the path of running away and giving up? I have started to get extremely bored with this tedious game of cat and mouse. I have issued a mandate that you must prove all of your hidden potential to me. You had better engrave that deep into your mind. I have absolutely no desire to waste time on a coward who only knows how to turn tail and run. A barrage of attacks intertwined. I've made it mandatory for you to show me your full hidden potential, so you'd better burn that into your memory right now. I have absolutely no interest in wasting my time on a coward who only knows how to run away. What a pathetic barrage of attacks. With a mocking slash, Yukito taunted, Is that really all you've got, Lord Ozama? As he closed in, he added, If that's the full extent of your capabilities, I'm stuck at such a pathetic low-level threshold. And then I suppose our little challenge today can officially come to an end right here. Yukito's expression turned serious. He glanced at a nearby utility pole and declared, I fully understand how this works now. If the situation has truly escalated to this point, then allow me to... Before he could finish, Yukito turned toward the utility pole and delivered a powerful kick to it. Ozama watched confused as the pole began to topple. Yukito spoke up. Officially initiate my own counteroffensive. As the pole crashed down, Ozama exclaimed in surprise, Seriously? Are you out of your mind? Noticing a car with passengers behind them, he shouted, Dodging the attack isn't exactly a good option for you right now. One-handed, he caught the falling pole. Yukito clapped, mocking him, truly just as one would expect from a great hero. It's not good for you right now, is it? He catches the utility pole with one hand, and Yukito applauds, saying, Exactly what one would expect from a true hero. You're such a compassionate soul, aren't you? You would never dream of leaving innocent civilians in harm's way, would you? Ozama dropped the pole. Such obstacles are after all just part of my daily routine. However, I must admit, I'm a bit surprised by this move of yours. Yukito smiled and asked, So that's how it is, huh? If that's the case, then you'd better put in the effort to protect every single one of them then. Don't you dare let a single one of them slip through the cracks. A power line overhead exploded. He declared, a horrific explosion has just been triggered. Ozama's face went pale, his eyes darting toward the scene in panic. The short-circuited wire sparked leaking electricity into the water from a damaged pipe nearby. The current surged into the water and a violent explosion erupted right before Ozama's eyes. Stunned, he shouted, An explosion! As fire began to spread, Ozama summoned a water spirit. Extinguish those raging flames immediately. Go. A stream of water doused the roaring fire. Yukito stood by watching the show. That meager amount of water barely made a dent, and it was nowhere near enough to contain the inferno. Just as he said, the fire spread rapidly. It reached the cars and trees along the road. The extreme heat caused the ground to crack and a massive sinkhole opened up. Vehicles were teetering on the edge of the pit. Ozama screamed, What the hell is going on? He had a plan. If things had truly reached this desperate point, I will summon both Shin and Gnome right now. All right then. Today, I'll go all out against you. The spirits carried civilians away from the collapsing area while another used its energy to hold up a car about to fall into the pit. Once the vehicles and people were temporarily out of harm's way, Yukito leisurely stepped toward them. He called out, Hey, I hope you haven't forgotten. The presence of someone as pathetic as me here, have you? Isn't that right? Ozama didn't have time to worry about him. He was currently swamped with the responsibility of saving the innocent lives around him. What kind of long-range attack could someone like you possibly have to even reach me from the start? Yukito replied, I may not have the power to cause even the slightest real damage to your formidable body. But then he teleported behind his opponent and slammed his shield into his back. But at the very least, I have more than enough capability to constantly harass and annoy you. Ozama's face turned pale from the pain. Hey, wait a minute. His body wobbled about to fall. Yukito warned him, Right below this area there's been a pool of foul, stagnant sewage. Accumulating for a long time. Once in a while you should experience it yourself. He swung his sword, preventing Ozama from clinging to the edge of the road. How it feels to taste the miserable, helpless flavor of being the weak one forced to swallow a mouthful of filthy sludge. Off you go. Ozama involuntarily fell into the foul water which splashed upward upon impact. Yukito stood from above, watching the legendary hero bathing in the sewer. "Do you see, sir? By the way, allow me to announce something for you." He pulled out a scepter. "I still have many more protective artifacts in my hand. Just like this one." He raised both hands. "That's enough. All right, then. I give up. I'm officially throwing in the towel. I guess I've truly been defeated by you today." Outside the hospital now, nothing but a pile of rubble, the two sat and talked calmly. Ozama broke the silence. "I have to admit the harsh truth, I have incredibly terrible luck. I've been dragged into unlucky accidents my whole life. Now I finally understand your devious plan, how you deliberately lured my attacks just to trigger those dangerous accidents exactly as you had planned. But even if that's the case, the fact that I've witnessed so many unlucky accidents happening in such coincidental succession is truly bizarre and abnormal. You bastard, you must have memorized the exact locations of every horrific accident from your previous life, didn't you? Am I right?" Yukito admitted, "I suppose you could say that." He recalled his past life, the site of that explosion, the flowers and memorial offerings placed at the base of the utility pole. Back then, Yukito had pressed his hands together in prayer, then taken the food to eat. Even the painful and pathetic memories from my wretched past life can ultimately still provide some immense and useful help at critical moments like this. Yukito turned to Ozama. "More importantly, we need to discuss whether I have successfully proven my capabilities to you yet." "Right. The so-called great hidden potential that you've been going on about all this time." Ozama clapped in approval. "Exactly right. You have truly performed your job in an incredibly excellent and spectacular way beyond my expectations. However, I must make one request. You need to continue to accompany me and stay by my side for a little while longer." Yukito looked confused at these words. He revealed, "Regardless, this supreme void barrier is about to run out of energy and vanish completely soon anyway. And at this moment, I am the only individual with the professional expertise to step up and handle all the chaotic aftermath unfolding right here. Am I right? Therefore, an inevitable outcome is that you must immediately set off and return to that general hospital, with the goal of helping to eradicate the source of the horrific death curse contamination currently ravaging that place. I will place my full trust and rely entirely on your help for this important mission." Yukito was surprised. "A horrific death curse contamination. Is it really happening?" He changed his tone and revealed, "You know, that horrific tragedy at that hospital, you are also a reincarnated person, so of course you must know all about it, right?" "Huh?" Yukito denied. "No, I don't know anything at all." Ozama maintained a nonchalant smile. "Come on now. Don't bring up such unfunny things and just to mess with me." He clarified, "No, I'm being serious. I really don't know a thing." Ozama was shocked. "You really don't know anything about that earth-shattering event. And yet you remember every little detail about trivial things like small fires or road cave-ins." Yukito said awkwardly, "My entire previous life was basically spent trapped in dark dungeons. For 75 years I did nothing but fight monsters." He said helplessly, "Your knowledge from your past life is really skewed and lacking. It's seriously bad. Then that means you clearly have no preparation or countermeasures for the contamination caused by the death curse, do you?" "Right." Yukito said helplessly, "Not even a little bit." Ozama was even more speechless. "I knew it. Ugh, how tiresome. But oh well. There's no time for long explanations now. The spatial barrier is about to collapse any second. Hurry up and get to the hospital's morgue. Once you get there, you'll figure out what's going on for yourself." Yukito cut him off. "Wait a minute. You can't just dump something this crazy and terrifying on me out of nowhere like that," he replied calmly. "I was planning on heading there as fast as I could anyway. But if you just stand there with your arms crossed and do nothing, a lot of people are going to die." Yukito stood stunned, watching Ozama's back as he walked away. He shouted as he saw him vanish into thin air. "Hold on. No matter what happens, I have to go back to that hospital. I have to." He tapped his teleportation bracelet, and Yukito vanished from the street. The street returned to its original state, and the hospital went back to normal. Inside the room, the doctor gave his instructions. "Anyway, from now on, you just need to come in for your scheduled checkups, and that's all." Yuku stood up and bowed, saying, "Yes, thank you very much, doctor." Yukito closed his eyes, lost in thought. He glanced at his two relatives. Yukito knew clearly that he didn't have enough time to stand here and explain everything clearly to both of them. Even he himself didn't have a clue what the hell was actually going on right now. He pushed the door open, preparing to leave. Yukito thought the only thing he knew for sure at this moment was that the hospital was definitely in extreme danger. I need to find a way to get them away from there as soon as possible. Nozomi was rubbing her stomach and said, but the moment I finally relaxed, my stomach started growling like crazy. Yukito suggested, how about the three of us grab something to eat on our way home? Yukito pointed to himself. Today your big brother is going to cook a delicious meal himself to celebrate for you. Nozomi's eyes went wide with surprise. Are you serious, big brother? His mom teased. My, this really is a rare occurrence. It's like the sun rising in the west. Yukito added, well, changing things up once in a while doesn't hurt, right? Come on, I'm going to stop by the market to pick up some food and drinks, so you two go ahead and head home first. If that's what you say, Yuku, then we won't stand on ceremony. We'll gladly accept your kind offer. Yukito Nozomi added, whatever you decide is fine by me, dear. As long as you're comfortable and agree to it, that's all that matters. He watched them walk away. Yukito wondered to himself if she was looking forward to this meal as much as he was. Well then, time to get to work. His expression turned serious as he prepared to investigate, shifting his direction. Wait, that morgue is supposed to be a restricted area where unauthorized personnel aren't allowed. Just waltzing in like that. He headed into the men's restroom and pulled out an invisibility cloak. Yukito had managed to acquire it as loot from his previous travels. While hunting monsters, that is. I've always just used it to shoo away those pesky little low-level monsters before. Still, I never in a million years thought I'd actually have to use it to sneak around like some common criminal. Even if it's unavoidable, I really don't like playing these kinds of games. As he slipped past, he was startled to see a door open on its own. A ghost. Yukito stepped into the elevator, and as it moved up to the 4th floor, he pondered the disaster caused by that curse. The name sounded vaguely familiar, like I'd heard it somewhere before, or maybe I hadn't. The elevator reached the basement level. He stepped out into a gloomy hallway, moving forward as he recalled being told that once he set foot in this place, he would understand everything automatically. It's so deathly quiet here. Could a catastrophe-level threat really be hiding down here just like he said? Regardless, it's best to stay on high alert. The scan screen showed no information whatsoever up to this point. There hadn't been any abnormal readings at all. At least nothing had happened yet. Yukito stared at a specific door, knowing this was the place. It was the morgue for deceased patients. Yukito pushed the door open and stepped inside, the temperature dropping immediately as he glanced at the bodies on the beds and muttered to himself, who knows, maybe tomorrow it'll be me lying in this very room. Yukito walked to the far end of the morgue, his eyes scanning his surroundings vigilantly. Yukito took off his cloak and still nothing happened. He let out a sigh of relief, thinking, don't tell me that bastard actually tricked me into a trap. Just then, a sinister aura surged forward and a red light radiated from a hospital bed as a patient's body began to writhe. The face looked incredibly evil as they transformed into walking corpses with twisted limbs. A roar echoed out, their skin deathly pale and their eyes blank and lifeless. Yukito realized, so that's what it is. It really is the kind of thing you understand the moment you see it. The whole lot of them started moving toward him. Yukito covered his nose, the living dead or zombies. Come to think of it, back in my previous life during this time, top-tier adventurers were only just beginning to set foot in those unexplored dungeons. They emitted low guttural growls, and one prepared to pounce on him. Yukito stayed alert, though these zombies weren't created by some virus. They were born from a kind of malevolent curse. They were the remains of the deceased who had been struck by curses from soul-type monsters if these bodies weren't buried properly, and were just left to rot there. After a certain amount of time, Yukito took them down one by one, knowing full well they would transform into curse-bearing corpses, these zombies. Another zombie was taken down. Yukito discovered that this curse had a nasty trait: it could spread between corpses. In my previous life, we usually dealt with these by applying a strict 3-step ritual for burial and calming the spirits, but in this current life, that procedure hadn't even been implemented yet. Even so, according to common rules, these types of curses shouldn't just spontaneously spread to the living, as long as you aren't unlucky enough to get bitten by those zombies. Yukito shoved a hospital bed aside, and it blocked the zombies' path as long as you act carefully and cautiously. You'll remain perfectly safe. Yukito proceeded to take out the zombies in the corner, swinging his sword while pushing a bed forward, trapping the zombies between the beds. Yukito moved forward to push the next bed, his hand touching the wall. The plan was to definitely thin them out and wear down their numbers. He heard a roar behind him and spun around. Yukito glanced at the ID tag around the zombie's neck. When he was alive, this guy was probably a very famous and celebrated adventurer, but that formidable strength meant nothing now. Not once he had turned into a mindless zombie like this. The locker door behind him rattled, and he frowned. More of them were appearing, several running out frantically. Yukito thought to himself, no, there's only one. I'll deal with this one first. As Yukito prepared to swing his sword at the creature lying face down, he steadied himself. "Wait, stay calm," he whispered. My warrior's instincts are telling me this entity is neutral. It's not a monster at all. The person is pleading, "Save me, oh my god. Please save me." Yukito was stunned. "No way!" She's actually still alive. He noticed the clothes she was wearing. Yukito realized she's from the funeral home. "Did you come here to collect and process the bodies? For the corpses that have completely turned into zombies, I'm helpless. There's nothing I can do. But if it's a living person who has only just been cursed, there's still a way to treat and cure them. But how on earth could I have coincidentally brought the specific medical tools for that with me right now? Besides, that defensive barrier over there isn't going to hold out for much longer. Using standard logic, I should probably just turn a blind eye and leave her to her fate. And focusing all my energy on reducing the number of zombies in front of me would be more logical," he thought to himself. But I really don't want to become a selfish person who calculates everything to such an extreme degree like that efficiency-obsessed hero. He put on his spatial bracelet and a vortex appeared on the surface. "Let's head to a shop. I need to calculate what materials I need to craft. An antidote. System notification, spatial teleportation successful." Yukito told the shopkeeper, "I'll take this if you don't mind." At the next shop, the owner handed him the items. "Here are the alchemy tools." Yukito pointed at something else. "I'll take that too, please. World tree leaves and holy water as well." And finally, the fresh blood still flowing in the body of the person who will take this potion. He returned to the spot. Even to him, this method really felt too brutal and forced. Yukito spoke to her, "All right. Try to lie still and don't thrash or struggle around, okay?" He set his sword down and collected the other person's blood. Yukito grabbed a vial and proceeded to brew the medicine. "Amazing, I've collected all the necessary materials now. Everything I need." Yukito sat in the corner, carefully measuring and weighing everything. He dropped in the final ingredient, praying in his heart, "I'm counting on this to work." System notifications updated continuously. Beginning process to craft holy cleansing elixir. Warning, your current profession is completely incompatible to perform alchemy skills. Success rate reduced by 25%. Warning, you do not possess high-level alchemy blending skills. Success rate reduced by an additional 70%. Warning, magic energy levels in your body are insufficient. If by chance the crafting succeeds, the probability of achieving high quality is 1%, normal quality is 2%, and low quality is 97%. Crafting successful holy cleansing elixir. Quality reached high grade. A glowing bottle appeared. He was overjoyed. "Thank goodness, just hang in there and hold on for a little longer, okay?" Yukito poured the elixir into her mouth. A golden wave of energy radiated around her, and her skin returned to its original state. He let out a sigh of relief. "So lucky I managed to finish it in time." Yukito carefully helped Nana sit up, settled her down, and then picked up the sword he had left on the ground. "All right, everything is sorted now. Now it's time for round 2 with those zombies, right?" Silence came from behind the bed fortress. He was curious. "What's this?" The suffocating pressure radiating from the zombies suddenly disappeared. They're gone. Yukito's eyes widened in shock. Before him was a bloody scene. Many zombies were merging together. Their flesh turned into a dark, viscous mass. Their eyes shifted to a shade of gray. A wide mouth with sharp teeth sprouted and drool dripped to the floor. It roared, the amplified sound echoing outward. The beds were blown away. Yukito couldn't even stand steady. He was stunned. "Come on, are you kidding me? That kind of merging and transforming body horror stuff should be left to the slime monsters, okay? Damn zombies." Yukito was shocked to realize that the cursed rot had condensed and evolved to a whole new level. Just look at that multi-headed monster. Yukito couldn't help but wonder if this was the price he had to pay for trying to save someone. He immediately thought of Ozama. If that hero saw him struggling in such a pathetic situation, he'd probably just scoff and laugh right in his face. Yukito didn't want to overthink it, to hell with it. He had no regrets about his decision. The fused monster launched long tentacles, whipping them hard toward Yukito. He nimbly ducked. Avoiding a slash, he swung his blade and took the monster's head off. Yukito knew the most basic fundamental rule for taking down these zombies. You have to completely destroy their heads. As another tentacle attacked, he leaned back to dodge and swung his sword, slicing off another head. Looking at the monster, he saw there were still a few heads left. He felt that the situation had truly become a bit more dangerous and difficult. 2 more tentacles lashed out. Yukito chopped them off first, dark fluid spraying from the severed ends. Once he finished off another head, he thought to himself, But the task at hand remained the same. Yukito could only persist slicing them off one by one, telling himself to just take them out, head by head. He absolutely couldn't afford to miss even one. I just need to smash every last one of those heads and it's over, right? Yukito sliced off the final head, leaving the monster with just a bloated, wobbling body. He stepped in front of it. There, that's done. I guess that's the room cleared out then. The next moment, Yukito was shocked. The monster's neck was moving and it started to arch up. Another head sprouted right out. Yukito frowned. You've got to be kidding me. What the hell is this? This time, countless tentacles shot out, wrapping around the headless corpses nearby. It slowly pulled them into its gaping mouth, devouring the prey instantly. More heads sprouted again. Yukito grew tense. It was actually regenerating its own body parts. Seriously, are you kidding me? You're a zombie, for crying out loud. So just do us all a favor and rot away quietly, could you? Regardless, in order to completely collapse and finish off this freak of nature, I have no choice but to smash its heads faster than it can regenerate. I have to destroy them all at once. But still, let me check the skills I have: multi-stab, hornet, sting, charged, heavy strike, or maybe a shield bash to knock the opponent back. Most of these warrior-class skills. They were all designed for one-on-one combat. In other words, I don't have a single skill right now that can deal area of effect damage, even though I have a few wands I scavenged from who knows where. Still, I can't just go around using massive high destruction spells inside a hospital building like this. Should I try to stall for time and wait for that hero to show up and rescue me? No way. Doing that would be the same as admitting defeat to him. Actually, before I can even think about that, this monster. It's getting bigger and more massive by the second. Other zombies are gradually merging into its body, making it bloat even more as it reaches a skeletal hand toward Yukito. He could feel its power growing. I have to find a way to take it down fast. The zombie let out a screech. Yukito quickly retreated as tentacles launched spikes that shot through the air, destroying everything around him. Walls cracked and crumbled as chunks of debris fell. He thought if I keep letting it grow stronger, things will get completely out of control. But how am I supposed to fight this thing? What I really need right now is an overwhelming large-scale suppression attack that can hit the entire body of this giant evil undead entity all at once, but at the same time, the destructive power can't be so strong that it collapses or destroys the entire hospital. Yukito kept searching for a breakthrough against the monster, looking for some kind of convenient and precise weapon. How on earth am I supposed to have that on me right now? A sharp tentacle lunged at him, forcing him to rack his brain. No, wait, hold on. Let me think for a second. The tentacles were closing in at blinding speed. Yukito slashed through them with his sword, cutting up the alchemical tools he'd just scavenged. A moment ago, he had ducked behind a bed. Yukito glanced at the jars nearby. They couldn't possibly be used for just brewing potions, could they? No way. A tentacle slammed down, leaving a dent in the bed frame. Yukito already had a plan. If he didn't have the weapon he needed on him, he'd just have to make it himself. I'll just craft it simple as that. Despite the attacks at his back, he felt strangely calm. Turns out things that can blow people away are actually pretty easy to find around here. Like, surprisingly so, a random rock sitting on the side of the road works just fine. He snapped off a piece of a rusted iron pipe. Honestly, anything can become a weapon. As long as I decide in my head that it's a weapon, that's all that matters. Notification 4. Iron pipe segments collected. Yukito looked ahead, alert. The monster was attacking more aggressively now. He hoisted half of the bed frame and shouted at it. Starting to get impatient, are we? Dying to just swallow me whole, huh? That's right, you absolute freak! Yukito shoved the items into his inventory. Notification iron plate added. Checking his storage, he yelled out, "Hey, you hideous thing! Could you please act like a proper zombie?" Just try to act like a zombie for once. Yukito pulled out his shield. Just keep shuffling around slowly and sluggishly, all right. Can you do that for me? Why are you in such a hurry? As a few more tentacles lashed out, Yukito moved nimbly, blocking them with his shield. He pulled a book from his inventory, still holding the shield up. Flipping through the pages, he found the recipe for black powder. The ingredients: saltpeter potassium nitrate, about 73 to 79%, sulfur, about 2 to 12%, and charcoal, about 10 to 17%. Yukito was stunned. Charcoal, sulfur, and I need potassium nitrate on top of that. How on earth am I supposed to find those ridiculous chemical ingredients in a place like this? If I try to use the teleportation bracelet to go buy them now, I'm dead for sure. The energy remaining in this bracelet has already hit critical dangerous levels. There's nothing left. It seems that during those intense back-to-back fights, I've really been overusing it, which means I have no choice but to find a way to make those materials. Completely from scratch. Yukito noticed a wooden crate in the corner of the room. Charcoal seemed a bit easier to manage. He grabbed it. It just needs to be burned to be made right. From some regular cedar wood that should do the trick right. Notification raw, cedar plank collected. Yukito tossed the wood into the furnace. Notification starting the charcoal production process. Warning, your current profession is completely unsuited for alchemy. Success rate reduced by 25%. Warning. You do not have the intermediate alchemy skill. Success rate reduced by another 60%. Warning, not enough magical energy. If you happen to succeed, the chance of high quality is 2%, normal is 3%, and junk is 95%. Notification, charcoal crafting successful high-quality item. Yukito let out a sigh of relief. Great. Now I just need to find sulfur and potassium nitrate and the set will be complete. But the real headache is, how the hell? Am I supposed to find that stuff in this freezing cold morgue? Right now, Yukito lunged toward the monster. That's exactly right. There's no mistake. A blue fluid is leaking from its body. Yukito hid behind the upright bed and pulled out his phone. In times of extreme difficulty and dead ends, relying on modern technology is the best play, isn't it? What else is there? Yukito decided to ask the AI. He typed in the keyword, everyday uses for sulfur and potassium nitrate. Notification, downloading data. Please wait a moment. The results popped up. Common examples, gunpowder like in fireworks and explosives. Potassium nitrate has been the main ingredient for ages. Gunpowder containing potassium nitrate ignites easily. Combined with charcoal as fuel, the reaction creates a boom releasing massive energy. That's why it's used in fireworks too. Fired up into the sky. Plus matchbooks are a familiar example. They use both sulfur and potassium nitrate on the match head. Yukito felt his pants pocket. That's it. That's exactly it. It's those matchboxes, that's where they are. When I walked past the incense shelf earlier, I'm pretty sure I saw a box of matches left there for people to light incense. I think you're right. If that's the case, then this means go over to that girl, Yukito. Check her pockets. Sorry for the disrespect to the spirits of the departed ancestors. Let me borrow these matches for a little bit. When he found the matchbox, he was thrilled. Everything was exactly as he'd predicted, not off by a single bit. Yukito tossed it into the furnace. Now the only thing left to do is scrape the heads off these matches to get the chemicals, and that's it. Update notification, starting to extract sulfur and potassium nitrate from the matches. Warning, this profession is not suited for alchemy. Success rate reduced by 25%. Warning, you do not have the general alchemy mixing skill. Success rate further reduced by 60%. As the finished product appeared, a notification popped up. Extraction successful. Sulfur and potassium nitrate saltpeter acquired. Yukito cheered inwardly. Amazing! Now finally I can start making black powder. A small canister was finished. Black powder crafting successful high-quality grade. He looked at his inventory. The next important thing he absolutely needed right now was ammunition to fire. Update notification. Crafting successful. Buckshot and shrapnel rounds. With all the gear ready, Yukito decided it was time for the main event. He scribbled a note in his notebook, then picked it up and pondered for a moment, an expression of confidence on his face. Meanwhile, the monster's tentacles slammed into the ground and it let out a deafening roar. All of its tentacled hands were lunging toward him. Yukito tore up the paper. Hey, you monsters. Do you know one thing, those movie zombies that actually know how to sprint? Moving fast like crazy. That's the kind of thing horror fans absolutely hate and look down on, isn't it? Yukito dropped his pen notebook and paper. A drawing appeared on the paper. Yukito tapped the screen on the paper display. Notification. New crafting recipe discovered, one never seen before in this world. Activating creative alchemy mode. The alchemy furnace blazed with fire. A series of warnings flashed, warning profession not suited for alchemy. Success rate reduced by 25%. Warning, you do not have the advanced alchemy mixing skill. Success rate heavily reduced by another 70%. Warning, you have zero metallurgy skills. This will significantly reduce the quality of the item. Warning, insufficient magical energy. If by some miracle you succeed, then the chance for a super grade item is only 0.01%, normal grade is 0.99%, and the risk of turning out junk is 99%. Finally, the update notification. Congratulations. You have successfully crafted a homemade pipe shotgun quality, extremely rare high-end gear. A glow emanated from Yukito's hands. He muttered, I personally have never had any twisted hobby of messing around with the remains of the dead, but the situation forced my hand. Update notification. Buckshot-loaded black powder filled into the chamber. A shotgun appeared in his hands. Yukito aimed the barrel at it. So just happily accept this earth-shattering blast, all right? The damn zombie snarled at Yukito, sending a shockwave toward him. Update notification warning: using firearms is completely unsuited to your current profession. Your jam rate and misfire rate increased by 30%, accuracy reduced by 30%. He was very confident in his luck stat and fired repeatedly at it. Yukito shouted, "Facing off against zombies." You absolutely have to use this stuff. Notification target hit. He kept firing. Bang, bang. The sound of gunfire echoed, each shot striking the zombie bullets embedding into its body. The bullets flew fast and true. Yukito was proud. A shotgun is clearly the best choice, right? The end of a tentacle fell to the ground. Pieces of its body were dropping off. Yukito aimed at the zombie's head. Its head exploded. Yukito said with contempt, "What makes you think you can bite me?" "That's not gonna happen, kid." A large patch of its flesh was blown away, but he still hadn't finished it off. He exclaimed, "This monster is seriously tough as nails. But if we're talking about being stubborn and holding on to the bitter end, I'm not afraid of anyone." After a long while, the zombie collapsed. Yukito kept his gun pointed at it and fired the final rounds. Tentacles were shredded by the bullets. The last shell finished its mission and hit the ground. Notification: out of ammo. Only then did Yukito stop. He walked over to the monster and stomped on it. Yukito exhaled, completely exhausted. System notification: player. Yukito Takahashi has successfully defeated the disaster entity curse. Congratulations, you are the first person in the world to take down this entity. Reward received: title Holy Spirit Butcher. Damage dealt to undead-type monsters increased by 30%. Yukito felt relieved seeing this notification. He closed his eyes, sensing the victory. Yukito covered in the monster's slime thought, "Finally, I've won." The girl behind him let out a soft sound. He rejoiced, "What a relief. Looks like the antidote from earlier worked perfectly. But wait, I need to use my brain and think for a second. How am I going to explain to people why I'm here now, an unauthorized person trespassing covered in blood, and clutching a shotgun in my hands? There's no way anyone would believe me if I told them the truth that I'm someone who was reborn from a past life. Plus, my current location is clearly inside a restricted area where outsiders are absolutely forbidden to step foot. This is nothing but criminal trespassing. On top of that, firing a gun recklessly outside the dungeon like this is already a major criminal offense. Violating the firearms and blades control laws, plus trespassing in a restricted area. I'd better put on this cloak of invisibility for now, and find a way to get the hell out of this nightmare." Yukito glanced toward the door over there. Yukito was extra cautious, but first he had to activate his detection skill to ensure it was safe. He heard footsteps approaching from this direction. Damn it, this is huge trouble. The problem is I'm a warrior class. My stealth and infiltration skills are limited. They definitely have their limits, don't they? I'm not exactly cut out to be an assassin. Yukito looked at the teleportation bracelet, which was glowing red, the remaining magical energy left in it. It wasn't much, but still. He whispered a prayer, "Please, just this once. If I could just use it one more time. I'm begging you." Yukito touched the bracelet, but nothing happened. He sighed to himself. Still nothing, huh? Of course, nothing in this world ever goes as smoothly or conveniently as you want it to. Outside the door, two people were standing guard, fully armored. Behind them was a group carrying a small palanquin where a girl sat yawning, looking bored as she scrolled through her phone. Yukito thought to himself, "Great, the church is here. Just my luck, trouble is coming in droves. And they even have a royal palanquin escort." A church follower reported, "Excuse me, Lady Naomi. There's a guy over there acting extremely suspicious." Her eyes never left the screen. "Is he a heretic, an enemy of our faith?" The subordinate replied. "I'm not entirely sure, my lady, but his behavior is definitely suspicious." Naomi replied, "I see." She tossed her phone to one of the guys. "Keep focusing on the dungeon sweep." Naomi stepped off the palanquin, folded her hands, and said, "Wealth and prosperity are things you should be storing up in the kingdom of heaven. That is the righteous way. I absolutely refuse to accept being defeated by some rich, pay-to-win whale who thinks they can just throw money around to get to the top." The followers lined up neatly. Naomi stepped forward, and so Yukito was called out, "Hey, you there! Are you a heretic, an enemy of our faith?" Yukito pointed behind him. "If you really want to know, I'm the one who just took care of all those zombies in there." Naomi asked the killer question. "Then how did you know there were zombies in there? That's strange. You don't look like hospital staff at all, yet you sniffed them out even before I did. And I actually have a dedicated zombie detection skill." Yukito didn't know what to say. From behind him, Ozama's voice rang out, "I was the one who sensed the danger, which is why I sent him in there first to check the situation." Naomi exclaimed, Well, look who it is. Isn't it our heroic friend?" Hero Ozama had arrived. Once everything was settled, Naomi bowed her head to him. Ozama explained, I was tied up dealing with the aftermath of that traffic accident earlier. That's why he was acting as my representative going in there to handle it for me. Naomi realized, oh, so that's it. Now I understand. So that's how it happened. If he's an acquaintance introduced by the hero himself, then I suppose there's no reason to worry. Besides, his karma meter is showing a pretty low level. Yukito was surprised. Karma meter? That sounds like some kind of hidden stat. I've never heard of that before. Naomi happily confirmed. That's right. My sin-piercing eyes allow me to see through a person's good and evil through concrete numbers. Ozama clapped, as expected of the youngest member of the church. Achieving the rank of high priest really makes a difference. Yukito thought to himself, that really is a one-of-a-kind skill from an extremely rare job class. Naomi cleared her throat. It's nothing major, really. Just a normal thing. Then she added, oh, by the way, Hero Ozama looked puzzled. Is something the matter? Nami cleared her throat. It's really no big deal, honestly, just a simple matter. But, Hero... Ozama looked puzzled. What's the matter? She asked, is this the person who will be joining us for this holy crusade and sweeping operation? Nami finished speaking and looked up at Ozama as if just remembering. He gave a thumbs up. That's right, that's definitely him. Having him on your side would be absolutely amazing. Of course, Nami, I'm certain he'll be of great help to you in freeing the temple from the claws of the dark forces. Nami, it's decided. Understood. If the hero himself has given his guarantee like that, then I will personally escort him straight to the mission site. As for me, anything is fine. I don't have any objections, I'm just a little worried about my subordinates, that's all. You asked in confusion, hey, you two. The two of you standing there? What are you whispering and gossiping about? Don't go making decisions for other people like that, it's just not right. Ozama, standing nearby, still had that same smirking expression. Yukito, you really do love to joke around and tease so much, haha. He whispered, come over here for a second. I said come over here, so just come over here. Once out in the corner of the room, Ozama spoke up. I'm truly sorry, okay? But I really need you to act on my behalf and help that girl out. Surely even you must know all about that Job Advancement Temple, right? Right. Yukito replied, of course I know all about it. But so what? You thought to yourself that Job Advancement Temple is a structure, a place of extreme importance to us adventurers. Only by going there can you upgrade your current job levels or proceed to change to a job that suits you better. Ozama revealed, in our past life, the failure of that holy crusade caused the progress of freeing the temple to be delayed for a very long time. Nami was defeated back then. He continued. That very thing caused the adventurer forces to be seriously weakened while the enemy monsters on the other side just kept getting stronger and stronger. Yukito kicked the issue back at him. If you already know everything like that, then why don't you get off your own rear and go solve it yourself? He said helplessly, I'd love to go, I really would, but unfortunately, as you can see, I'm swamped and buried in work up to my neck right now. There are so many seeds of disaster currently waiting to erupt all over this world. Look at that. Yukito reminded him, but those excuses still don't explain why the person who has to go and take the hit absolutely has to be me. Ozama patted your shoulder and advised, come on now. In any case, you should take this opportunity to build a good relationship with the church. Relying on the church's influence will become a life or death factor once you start venturing into the deeper dungeon floors. Yukito understood the point. You mean the spatial teleportation feature and them sending people who specialize in buffing and support spells along with us, right? Yukito remembered that the church currently holds a monopoly managing everyone capable of using healing magic and support spells. They even set up incredibly powerful magical barriers in certain dungeon levels and use teleportation magic to help adventurers move quickly. Back and forth between floors, you agreed fine. I can accept following your plan. Ozama asked happily, are you serious? Yukito grabbed the other man's collar. But before we start, you have to swear that from now on, you are absolutely forbidden from laying a single finger on my family ever again. There we go. He accepted, of course. I'm not so free that I'd go around causing trouble or blocking someone who is doing useful work for this world, would I? Yukito retorted. To put it simply, you're saying you'll just turn a blind eye and spare me as long as I still have utility value to you, right? Ozama acted innocent. Don't make it sound like I'm out here blackmailing or threatening you like that. I'm the victim here. I'm clearly asking for a favor in a very polite and decent manner after all. I don't believe you, but fine, forget it, say whatever you want. But I won't put up with this keep quiet and never explain a single thing routine ever again. Don't you dare wait until it's too late to tell me. Do you hear me? Ozama, let's get straight to the point, I understand. Then first let me tell you this. Nami approached them and asked if the two of them had finished discussing their big plans. "That's right," he replied. Yes, I'm truly sorry for making you all wait here for so long," Nami replied comfortably. "Oh, it's nothing at all. While you two were talking, we were busy over here with the battlefield purification work." Nami raised the staff in her hand, and a beam of light radiated out, purifying Yukito until he was clean as new. Nami stepped onto her palanquin, since that's the case. "Let's head to the church building nearby right now." You asked curiously, "What on earth are we going there for?" She replied, "I need to conduct a test and evaluate your actual ability up to a certain point. It would be incredibly dangerous. If we carelessly brought along someone who couldn't even meet the minimum combat capability standards for a mission." She pointed her spear at Yukito. Ozama left as well. "So that's how the procedure works, huh? But I know for a fact that you'll definitely pass this test with flying colors and a perfect score. Just you wait." "Good luck, my friend." He silently cursed that damn guy. He had already run off ages ago, all to avoid getting dragged into such troublesome business. "Seriously," Yukito sighed. "Good grief, it looks like my lunch is going to be delayed again." They moved to a nearby church. The room doors were sealed shut. Facing Yukito were 4 believers. He held his sword, standing alone on one side. Nami clasped her hands and announced, "All right, let's get started. Your opponent will be one of my subordinates. Someone with average ability. I think someone around level 40 is just about right." Yukito glanced at his opponent. He felt that level was a bit higher than his own. Yukito spoke up. "Then let the match begin." Nami sat down on her palanquin, took out some food to eat, and said, "I'll just sit back here and enjoy the show. My bread. How delicious." The battle officially began. Their weapons clashed, sparks flying. He realized the pressure from their sword strikes was weaker than he expected. Holy warriors usually have stats focused on defense. But even taking that into account, their abilities still seemed underwhelming compared to his own level. Nami summoned a staff and said, "You're doing better than I thought. If that's the case, let me show you a small part of the god's blessing." She began to chant, "Heracor Axel," and a surge of power radiated from the base of her staff. The believer's entire body erupted with red energy. This situation caught Yukito off guard. Every strike from the believer became incredibly rapid and precise. He had no choice but to back away. Their speed had suddenly spiked. So this was the power of her buff effects. Holy warriors possess sturdy stats and heavy armor. If only the opponent had the buffs, a drawn-out battle would put him at a disadvantage. Yukito frowned when he noticed something unusual. He glanced at the hilt of the opponent's sword. Yukito found a breakthrough when he saw a screw on the gauntlet was loose. Poor maintenance. As the opponent swung down, Yukito retreated and thought to himself. He pulled out a shield. "I'll just step in and exploit that weakness. I guess this could also count as sustainable development, huh? All that scrap metal waste produced during the metal refining process." Meanwhile, the opponent jumped high, transforming his weapon into a giant warhammer, Thunderous Holy Maul. Yukito calmly took something out. He had already seen through the bee sting technique. He gathered momentum and launched himself upward. While the opponent was preparing to strike, Yukito shot the bee sting at the loose screw on the gauntlet. Soon, the gauntlet broke. As the opponent swung down, Yukito used his punishment shield to block. The believer's hand was shaking. He landed and retreated far back. He raised his sword, pointing the tip at his opponent's face. Time seemed to stand still in that moment. Yukito asked, "Do you still want to continue?" Nami, having seen a spectacular performance, clapped and praised him. "That performance just now was excellent. You passed the test. You're very strong." Yukito nodded. "Thank you." He returned the sword to his opponent, thinking to himself that it wasn't exactly because he was strong. It was mainly because these guys had become weak. Due to relying too much on those buff effects, Nami spoke up, her eyes still glued to her phone. "Then we're counting on you when the day of the campaign comes, okay?" Yukito let out a sigh of relief and replied, "See you then." After a long, exhausting day, Yukito finally returned home. He kept his promise and headed into the kitchen to show off his skills, bringing out 2 plates of golden, fragrant fried rice. "Food's ready." 3 plates of rice were placed on the table, but Yukito's own plate smelled burnt. He announced, "All right, let's eat, everyone." Both of them were speechless. They knew it all along. "How thoughtful of you," Ryuku said, calling Nozomi to eat. "After all, Brother Yukito went through the trouble of cooking for us himself." She replied politely, "I'll start eating now." Yukito smiled as he looked at the 2 people most dear to him still safe and sound. He thought to himself, "Mom has recovered, and I've resolved all the regrets from my previous life. I've even managed to save up a decent amount of money so Nozomi won't have to worry about finances until she's grown up. The results are truly better than I ever expected." But I still don't know when that hero might have a change of heart, so my immediate goal is to become strong enough to drive him back. Suddenly, Nozomi said, "You don't need to push yourself so hard, brother." He couldn't stop worrying even after his little sister's advice. But at this moment, there wasn't really anything else he could do. He immediately changed the subject. "This part is a little burnt, but it still tastes really good." After eating, Yukito joined his hands as usual to give thanks for the meal, and he decided the top priority right now was to personally handle the mess at the class transfer temple right in front of him. Scene changed to Nami's office. She was reading comments, "The king's kingdom is near, repent and leave a comment now." A few other comments appeared, "Sorry, I've already joined the spammin' cult. Now I'm a follower of that useless, flat-chested queen. Bring out characters that are actually meta. Talk to the king before you drag him into this." Nami sighed, thinking, I can't talk normally with these people. Honestly, she was preaching to people who at a glance clearly had no real faith at all. Just make peace with the king. As expected, everyone wanted to see a miracle. But since the gacha characters from the collaboration event were much stronger than the king, nobody believed in anything, except for the practical results appearing right before their eyes. But spending money on gacha was considered wasteful, so their karma levels skyrocketed. Nami looked at her phone feeling drained. She was so bored she slumped her head onto the desk. Nami slammed her phone down in anger. "You filthy money grubbers! All of you have way too high a karma score. Those damnable materialists!" Suddenly, someone spoke up. "Saintess Nami, may I have a few minutes of your time?" She allowed them to speak. The first of the 4 followers said, "If I may, please." Nami, curious, asked, "What brought you all the way here?" He knelt down. "We have come to submit a petition regarding the Holy Crusade to liberate the temple." Nami asked further, "Is there a problem with the upcoming crusade?" The follower requested, "You should remove all the adventurers from this campaign. Their karma scores are way too high. They are very dangerous." Nami felt a headache coming on. "This again. Honestly, I don't care about either side. All I want is to deepen my own faith. But just because I carry the title of saintess, I keep getting dragged into the church's annoying political drama." Another follower expressed, "But in reality, the liberation missions led by the adventurers faction have all been pathetic consecutive failures, haven't they?" She confirmed that it was true. The church headquarters has analyzed the data from those failures. The results show that teams with better moral behavior have a much higher survival rate, so headquarters concluded that hidden parameters that differentiate good from evil, which we use as karma scores, influence the strength of the enemies opposing our faith. "Exactly," they replied. That is why only those with low karma scores like us should handle this battle. However, the hero has also warned that relying too heavily on karma values is very dangerous." The follower slammed his hand on the table, but even if the karma score turns out to be unreliable in terms of morality. The movement made Nami jump. The man continued, "On one side you have the adventurers, living such reckless, debauched lives. Compared to us, who always maintain a life of devout, faithful worship, it's clear to see which side is the righteous one. My sources say that in their ranks there are even people who have committed crimes in the past." Nami understood, "You have a point, but I already promised to accompany them on this journey." The follower had a solution. "However, you didn't say you were forced to fight side by side with that bunch, did you?" Nami sighed. "Fine. If everyone is so dead set on their opinions, then I simply won't allow any adventurers to take part in the temple battle. My only concern is ensuring the temple is successfully saved from the clutches of evil, nothing more." The followers, getting exactly what they wanted, knelt down and cheered, "We are eternally grateful to you." As they left the office, one gleefully shouted, "Saint Nami has finally granted our wish." In her heart, she thought with contempt, "These kids, completely oblivious to how the world works, are honestly so easy to manipulate." Another chimed in, "Just as we expected from our saint. This man believed it was better to prop up a puppet. That's lightweight and easy to lead, rather than someone heavy and hard to control." One corrected him, "We are the ones who should be shouldering the danger when fighting the king's enemies, not her." He secretly thought, "We can't let the hero's faction gain any more influence in the church. If this keeps up," they believed, "Saint Nami's further rise is basically guaranteed." They already had plans to use her to siphon off even more fat subsidies. From the headquarters, they all said in unison, "Very well. Now let's all get back to work and dedicate ourselves to our holy duties for today." Cut to outside the city center, the meeting spot. He glanced at his phone, and just like that, the day of the Holy Crusade had finally arrived. We haven't even had a chance to sit down and properly discuss the battle plan yet. Yukito messaged Nami, I really need to talk about the tactics. She replied, my subordinates. I will only present the full plan on the actual day of the operation. Yukito messaged back, that's not good enough. We need to explain everything to the other adventurers first, so they know what's going on. He went to the Adventurers Guild reception. After all, he had agreed to take on the responsibility of leading the adventurers, at least on paper, and for administrative purposes. That title clearly had to come with some moral responsibility, right? Afterward, Yukito entered the teleportation gate. He was warped to the first floor of the Tokyo dungeon. At the first board, Yukito saw Nami and stepped up to say, good morning. She bowed politely, good morning to you too. His gaze turned dead serious. Those followers didn't have the right attitude. Yukito knew right then that today's trip definitely wasn't going to go smoothly. Soon, Yukito stood before a group of adventurers. He bowed his head and said, I am truly sorry that someone as new as me has to lead the team. Yukito felt awkward inside, standing in front of all these seasoned veterans. The pressure was honestly so heavy. One person said, don't worry about it, kid, it's fine. Another added, if the hero himself chose you, then you're definitely not a bad choice. Besides, we owe the hero a lot of favors, don't we? Yukito was surprised. Everyone owes him favors. Ibera, a member of the team, chimed in, if it weren't for the hero, we'd all still be rotting in prison right now. Yukito realized. So that's how it is. Turns out he still does things that are actually heroic in his spare time. Huh? He remembered when Ozama said, don't give me that look. I'm just asking for a favor, just one little favor. Even though he still didn't feel very comfortable about it, Nami commanded them, all right, now we will all head to the temple on the 30th floor to officially begin the Holy Crusade. The whole group moved to the first floor of the church dungeon. Yukito followed behind, deep in thought. In dungeon floors that humanity had already conquered and secured, a standard church was usually built there. If used the normal way, adventurers would have to pay a massive donation. But since this was an official church operation, it was completely free this time. Stepping inside, they all stood in a magic circle. A nun was chanting an ancient spell. The teleportation circle activated and they vanished. The group was transported elsewhere. The lead follower stepped out and opened the door. The team of adventurers, including Yukito, followed. In front of them was a dark, gloomy place, the 30th floor of the Tokyo dungeon. Eternal Aurora, endless night. He assessed the place. At this dungeon floor, it was only dimly lit by faint bands of aurora light. The number of monsters here was very low, and there were barely any valuable resources. Plus, one strange thing was, there were no boss monsters here at all, so adventurers could head straight to the next floor. This was a floor that most adventurers chose to rush through. He stepped up and asked Nami, so does your church actually have a tactical plan for dealing with the temple? She replied, we do. Our church will personally wipe out the evil force inside the temple, while for you adventurers, we want you to be responsible for security and patrolling. Keep a tight perimeter around here. Yukito narrowed his eyes, clearly catching on. In other words, you don't want adventurers like us fighting inside the temple, is that it? The two remaining adventurers exchanged glances. The cultist corrected him. Please don't misunderstand. It would be extremely dangerous to let people with high karma scores like you step inside the temple. Just leave the punishment of evil to experts like us. That's all you need to do. Yukito realized that just as the hero had said before, Ozama had once revealed that so-called karma was actually a deeply flawed and loophole-ridden metric. It was full of so many gaps that it couldn't be a perfectly reliable tool. It could instantly identify obvious villains, but it was completely powerless to expose. The faces of hypocritical phonies and that innocent little girl Nami was being thoroughly exploited by those very same hypocrites. Yukito asked curiously, so what about your specialized assassination skills? He replied, if 10 people were to suddenly drop dead all at once in a short span of time, it would immediately cause a scandalous shockwave that would ruin our reputation. Yukito felt helpless. Those people were truly rotten beyond saving. Back in the present, he spoke up even so. We still have a responsibility to report clearly to the Adventurers Guild after all. We can't just do a half-baked negligent job and then end up losing our own credibility. Please rest assured, the cultist replied immediately at that very moment, our beloved Saint Nami is an incredibly tolerant and generous person. She has personally approved this, considering your commissioned quest a complete success. And she will ensure that your full payment is issued without a single cent missing. So if anyone is unhappy with the church's proposal, you are completely free to just head home. Yukito immediately said casually, getting paid in full without having to put in any effort to fight that offer is honestly too generous. He crumpled the paper the cultist had handed him. Yukito thought to himself, but considering the nature of our position in this campaign, we are ultimately just support forces on the outside anyway. That exact fact is what puts us in a weak position, leaving us with no voice in front of them. The cultist urged the group, "Now, Saint Nami, let us move forward. To begin our glorious holy crusade, let us all unite our faith to completely wipe out the enemies who oppose the king." Nami turned back, saying apologetically, "We're heading out for the mission now." Yukito watched their backs as they left. The other adventurers discussed among themselves, "What are we supposed to do in this situation?" The other one replied, "What else can we do, when on paper this quest has already been officially approved as complete?" Someone suggested, "Honestly, guys, if we're still getting paid in full, isn't standing on the sidelines actually a great deal?" Yukito remembered how throughout his future lives he had to helplessly watch as all these foolish people were slaughtered miserably. "Because of that, please, I beg you, save these idiots' lives." But how could I just suddenly blurt out crazy things like that in front of everyone here? In the end, how the hell am I supposed to single-handedly sort out this damn mess? Oh, you hero who always acts so recklessly and irresponsibly. Good luck to you. The door slowly opened before Nami. She led the group of cultists inside. Nami looked up to see a group of goblins kneeling at the foot of a statue. They were silent, showing no signs of attacking. They only bowed in submission before the statue. Nami was suspicious of this. The monsters in front aren't attacking, so that's why there were so few monsters on this floor. The cultists seized the opportunity and rushed forward. "Look, the monsters have their backs to us. They've completely let their guard down. This is our chance. Fire the Holy Crusade." Black mist radiated from the statue. From the statue's eye sockets, black tears flowed. The corners of its mouth curled up to its ears. Wings made of blood sprouted from the back of the statue, a pair of wide wings radiating intense bloodlust. The cultists were stunned. What is this? Why is the Demon King growing stronger like this? We are pious believers. We shouldn't be able to provide strength to the king's enemy, right? Does this mean there is a heretic in our ranks? They all shared the same thought. It's not that. Every one of them knew that company assets, don't count as personal expenses for the church, so this behavior is perfectly safe. Embezzling secret funds, buying luxury supercars, and spending wastefully is bad, but expensive gifts donated by others, out of kindness, are perfectly fine. Sucking up to Sun Taku to win favor the sacred river, rare muskmelon's lust is bad, but constantly getting married and divorced is technically clearly safe. Trivial desires approved by the law are legal. If the temple's guardian monster discovered my true nature, I would definitely be in big trouble, but surely everyone else here is a truly pious believer, right? So if you're the only one sneaking around skimming a little off the top like this, then they're confident that there surely won't be any issues. Nami suddenly spoke up. After all, the hero was completely right. The monsters turned to look at her too. Nami slammed her magic staff onto the ground. She declared, "We can search for the culprit later. For now, focus on the enemy right in front of us." That believer was filled with renewed faith. "Yes, you're right. We still have the Saint Nami with us." They rushed forward again. "As long as we have Nami's blessing, this temple stands no chance of defeating us." Nami was chanting, her staff glowing with a pink light. The believer swung his sword with all his might at a goblin. Another was being cornered by a monster while a mage fired a blast of flame toward the enemy. Seeing the overwhelming numbers, someone gasped, "This is getting intense." "These guys don't move like regular monsters at all," Nami calmly reassured them. "There's no need to panic. All these entities are just monsters that have been recorded appearing below the 30th floor. There is no reason why those of us who have conquered up to the 40th floor can't take them down." Healing energy was restoring the believers. They felt confident. "That's right. We are strong." They charged into the fray. The blood-red aura from the evil king continued to radiate from its lower body. The evil king's mouth was gathering power, and a red energy surged toward the monsters. Suddenly their intensity flared. The monsters became even more aggressive. They attacked relentlessly. Someone realized in a panic, they just got way stronger out of nowhere. "We've never heard any reports about this." Nami thought to herself, so the divinity of this creature automatically increases every time it slaughters adventurers. And it has even gained the authority to manipulate humans. There's no rule saying humans are the only species that can learn new skills when they level up. The monsters continued to grow in strength. Roaring one lunged at a believer. The wolf bit down hard on the believer's wrist, blood spraying and splattering onto Nami's face. Another was lifted by a giant monster like a toy. She gritted her teeth, pouring more healing energy into them. "It's intentionally keeping them alive just to drain my mana reserves alone." The remaining two noticed, Are we really going to win this fight? The situation is starting to turn extremely bad. Nami glanced at the blood-red aura radiating from the evil king. So that's how it is. The thick aura spread everywhere. The evil king constantly unleashed the blood-red energy, its eyes turning a vivid, eerie red. Nami realized, our fear is being stirred up and converted into fuel for its own power. She tried to steady her heart, closing her eyes. When she opened them, her gaze was filled with determination. She announced, we can definitely win, without having to suffer any sacrifices. Because of that, I will turn this place into a sanctuary for martyrdom. I will activate a forbidden sacrificial spell. This is my most powerful finishing move intended to carve a bloody path straight to the statue of the king ahead. The current situation was completely lopsided. The wolf's howl made the believers hesitant to charge. She declared, now is the time to show the strength of our faith. Both sides lunged at each other. The monsters countered the killing intent. The first group of believers began to clash with the enemy. Blood sprayed onto the faces of the back row. Those two had already been defeated by the monsters. This left the remaining three trembling, their morale broken. The wolf, still holding a piece of bloody meat in its mouth, glared at them. This terrified them further, and they turned to run. I don't want to lose my life in a place like this. Someone help me. Nami couldn't believe it. What, come back? Keep the formation right now, one shouted back. Shut your mouth. His hand pounded against the door. These believers were trapped. Once you're dead, there are no kings or Buddhas left. Damn it, this door won't open. Nami thought, confused. Why could people betray their king so easily like that? I was ready for a martyr's death, but I don't want to throw my life away for nothing. Outside, Yukito and the group of adventurers hadn't left yet. He thought to himself, I'm no negotiation expert, so it's best to just skip the clever tricks. Then Yukito spoke up, everyone listen. The requested mission from the church has been completed. But I want to make a new request from me personally to liberate this temple. We don't need to go back to the Adventurers Guild for the paperwork, so this will just be a verbal contract. One person blurted out, Kid, if you're the one chosen by the hero, surely you wouldn't stiff your brothers on the pay. Another asked curiously, but why do you want to help those guys? Yeah, that much. Yukito replied frankly, I think the hero must have had his own reasons for sending us here, from the very beginning. This made them all remember Ozama. Yukito continued, and I just can't stand it. He remembered the sad look on Nami's face before she left. Yukito was advising them, just turning a blind eye to the sight of a child being manipulated by adults like a toy. An adventurer agreed with this, yeah. One word, they had accepted it. Let's live in a way worthy of the trust the hero has placed in us. After all, we are adventurers, aren't we? Yukito let out a sigh. That hero sure is reckless, isn't he? The adventurer party began to move, heading straight toward the church. Yukito thought to himself, but even recklessness should have its limits. That hero guy, he really has managed to gather a whole group of soft-hearted people together. He stepped forward and touched the door. Turning back with a serious look, Yukito announced, All right, everyone, steel yourselves, we're breaking in. Let's smash this door down. A noise erupted from inside, causing his expression to tighten as a dense, bloody aura wafted out through the door gap. Yukito realized the situation was looking grim. A danger zone map popped up with countless red dots. Two members spoke up. This variable clearly exceeds the acceptable risk threshold. This is bad. I can't just close my eyes and lead my comrades to their deaths. A female adventurer glanced toward those who were leaving. She looked back at the people staying behind with concern, saying, I'm sorry. Yukito noticed that half of them had already left. He tried to change his mindset to something more positive. Maybe I should look at it this way, at least half of the guys chose to stay. Yukito placed his hand on the door thinking, I have no right to blame those who left. If it weren't for Nozomi's situation, I probably would have turned around and run away a long time ago. A voice called out from behind, Leader. The adventurers who stayed were cheering him up. It's during times of crisis like this that you need to keep smiling. Just keep pretending to be optimistic until even your own body believes it. That calmed Yukito's mind. That's right. As soon as the door opened, the cultists inside spilled out. Yukito stepped on one's face and sneered, Seems like you guys are having a pretty rough and miserable time, huh? Nami stood stunned, turning to look at them. He announced, The team of good neighbors always ready to do a good deed has arrived just in time to save the day. Nami was shocked. You lot. The cultist under his foot was still talking tough. Stop right there. Outsiders are absolutely forbidden from entering. If scum like you walks into this temple, and it will only make them even more savage and vicious, he replied nonchalantly. Ridiculous. I don't see the enemies looking any different than before." The cultist was shocked. How could that be? That man had a prior record for theft, and that woman used to work as a prostitute. Yukito couldn't stand seeing his team's pasts being exposed. He turned back and shouted, "Shut your mouths! I've had enough of all this nonsense from hypocrites like you. If God's only blessed those who never made mistakes, then why did Christ choose a tax collector and basically a gang member? To be his apostles. Why did the Saint Shinran teach that it is the sinners themselves who are the ones to be saved?" The cultists were speechless. "That's because these adventurers are ready," he continued. "I'm about to show you something, that people can turn their lives around at any moment. And that is the true strength of these adventurers, people who keep pushing forward, even after making mistake after mistake." Nami watched the adventuring party advancing, a wolf behind her, preparing to pounce. "Why are all of you here?" Yukito instantly teleported from his previous position, swung his sword, and slashed the wolf's neck. Yukito reminded her, "Let's talk about that later, focus on the fight right now." Countless sword strikes unleashed powerful lightning, hitting the center where the monsters stood. The two monsters gritted their teeth in rage, glaring at them. Nami took a holy potion and drank it. Her strength was restored. She warned them, "The empowered enemies now possess strength equal to monsters from the 40th floor and up. Your amateur gear won't have any effect on them," Yukito added. "So in this situation, we have no choice but to face them head on." Nami raised her staff high. "I'll cast support magic for the whole team right now." Their strength was bolstered, and the two adventurers charged toward the goblins. They exchanged a look and coordinated. The rogue threw 3 daggers, approached the goblin, and landed a strike while the warrior fought the other one. Yukito, while finishing off the wolf, couldn't help but glance at their combat coordination. It was truly amazing. The mage was also firing attacks from afar at the giant goblin. He believed that if everything went exactly as the hero had planned, it would definitely be a victory. This is going to be easy for us. Looking at the number of followers who had fled, Yukito thought with regret that because their forces had been cut in half, they were currently just trying their best to keep the battle at a stalemate. He told Nami that this was the absolute limit of what they could do. "With these depleted forces, if things go on like this, there's no way we'll break through the encirclement. Do you have any other tactical plans?" She replied, "I do. I will finish this battle with the statue of the evil king myself by using a sacrificial spell." Hearing this, Yukito froze. He was shocked, asking, "What, you said a sacrificial spell?" "That is the only offensive magic that priests possess. It allows them to convert their own life force into a massive amount of magic power to destroy the enemy. But the price to pay to defeat a top-tier boss monster is death. It's as simple as that." Yukito asked again, "Are you serious about that?" She confirmed, "Yes, I have always been prepared for a martyr's death ever since I first became aware of my own life." Yukito stopped trying to persuade her and said, "I understand." His radio crackled as he prepared to announce. Yukito shouted, "At this rate, our entire army will never be able to break through. Everyone focus on carving a path of blood. Let's charge straight toward the evil king statue." All the adventurers and the 4 remaining followers formed a circle around Nami, led by Yukito. As bloodlust radiated fiercely from the evil king's mouth, they bravely charged toward the statue. The female mage channeled her magic. Nami behind them activated the holy light. The followers in the rear defensive line also took action. Yukito spearheaded the fight against a goblin. The followers clashed with the monsters. A moment later, the monsters' bodies lay scattered on the ground. The obstacles were cleared, and Nami stepped forward toward the base of the evil king's statue. Nami spoke up. "Thank you all so much." Blue purifying energy radiated around her body. "Now I can finally fulfill my role completely." Nami chanted the supreme spell, "I am the arrow of Indra. I am the lightning of the Almighty. Even if this body must turn to dust, I am determined to strike down the enemy of the king." As she reached this point, tears rolled down Nami's cheeks. Yukito watched her intently. Nami stood under the statue, bracing herself for the moment of martyrdom, sweat pouring down her face. Her hands were trembling. The image of death from her previous life and hands stained with blood flooded her mind, which deeply shocked Yukito. She saw an image of herself already dead. A voice rang out, "What is happening?" Her legs were clearly shaking. Yukito stood in front of her, slashing directly at the evil king, and asked, "Are you afraid of dying too?" Nami was still trembling. Yukito patted her head, saying, "Feeling fear when facing death is perfectly normal. Even the great Lord Christ had to seek a moment of silence to reflect before completing his supreme path." Hearing this, tears streamed down her face. He praised her, so what of it? Are you trying to say that you are even braver and more resilient than Christ? Nami said anxiously. But if I don't use my sacrificial spell, then... And there is no way we can defeat the enemy of the king. Yukito denied this. No. You still have something else you can do better? She was stunned, looking up at him as he reminded her, praying that is the true duty of a real priest, isn't it? Nami froze, astonished to hear this. She remembered that until now she had never truly sought salvation through her own faith. She only did exactly what the scriptures instructed. Then everything always went smoothly. But in its truest and purest form, prayer is the only thing one can turn to when faced with the absurdities of life. Nami dropped her staff, knelt on the floor, and entrusted everything to the king, sincerely praying for salvation from him. Her hands were clasped together, immensely devout. Perhaps she had never truly understood what genuine prayer was before. Holy blue light shone down from above until this very fateful moment. All this time, a healing energy had covered the area, cleansing all the previous bloodlust. The evil king's statue was gradually being purified. The statue's face no longer looked as terrifying as before. Nami was amazed to see this happening. Yukito praised her. You did very well. Just keep praying, and you will surely be granted it. Yukito knew clearly that to proceed with the class change ritual, they were required to have two core conditions met. That was the sincere prayer of a priest and the presence of an altar inside a sacred temple. The dilemma was that they were stuck in the middle of an extremely chaotic battle, and the human side still hadn't been able to fully seize control of that altar from the enemy. Therefore, there was nothing to guarantee that this class change ritual would be successful, except in his own specific case. System notification. Initiating class change ritual. Process determining altar ownership started. Human faction, 49%, evil faction, 51%. Human faction, 51%. Evil faction, 49%. Human faction, 47%, evil faction, 53%. Process confirmed complete. Altar ownership officially belongs to the human faction. Yukito rejoiced inwardly upon seeing this notification. The screen switched to a new update. System, please select the class you wish to change to. First class warrior. Characteristic offense is the optimal defense. The evolution condition must have single-handedly defeated an enemy whose power was completely overwhelming. Status requirements met. Combat achievement, attained the title of Giant Slayer. Secondary class, Holy Knight. Traits, Bone Eater and Poisonous Wheat Harvester. Evolution condition, personal karma level must be 200 or lower. Current status negative 280, fully qualified. Combat achievement requirement, displayed excellence against the undead. Status qualified. Current titles: Holy Slayer, 3rd class Mad Jester. Trait: what looks like a tragedy up close is a comedy from afar. Evolution condition, none required. Nami, wait a class evolution ritual. I honestly never imagined that this temple could actually trigger such a powerful ability. Yukito added, it seems our sincere prayers to the gods have finally been rewarded. You have some good advice there. Please, I beg you, choose the Holy Knight class. Nami continued urging him, if you pick that class, you'll instantly master healing magic and receive a massive boost to your defensive stats. Within the entire church, you know, the number of people who have become paladins can be counted on one hand. It's an incredibly rare class. Yukito scrolled past it thinking, but the problem is I'm just not the saintly or devout type. The kind of person you're describing is probably someone who spends their time pulling weeds. My decision is, I'm going with this class. Nami was shocked. What did you say? System notification, class evolution process initiated. A golden flow of energy enveloped Yukito as purple mist materialized before him. It then left a mark on his face, like a jester's. System notification. Congratulations, adventurer. Yukito Takahashi, you have officially changed your class to jester. Nami asked in bewilderment, why? Why would you make things so hard for yourself by intentionally choosing the jester class? Isn't that notorious for being the most useless and trashy class in history? As Yukito recalled from his previous life, the jester's reputation had always been treated with disdain, seen as a garbage class that anyone could easily access, but one that absolutely nobody ever bothered to choose. Because when you get down to it, all of a jester's combat skills are just one big gamble, relying entirely on random chance. I once tried using it. I already tried using a jester to fight a slime. It's a class literally designed for comedy. There's no way you could ever take it into a serious battle. Yet that harsh reality, which holds true for everyone else, feels like a god-tier class when it's in my hands. Behold the all-or-nothing skill. You turn back and tell everyone here whatever buffs or power-up effects you have. Pile them all on me right now. Nami immediately picks up her staff from the ground. All right. She raises her staff, beginning to channel energy as power surges from Yukito. He thinks to himself, system activate all magic spells to boost attack stats and damage. Critical hits against the target are doubled. Damage against undead monsters is increased by 30%. Holy Slayer title confirmed. He raises his sword, and next, the system triggers the multi-layer heavy strike skill, tripling the critical damage, and then immediately after, the system triggers the all-or-nothing skill. As the details of the all-or-nothing skill effects appear, Nami stares in disbelief. Black mist pours from the Evil King's mouth as the system updates all-or-nothing skill has a 50% chance for the next attack to deal 10 times the normal damage. And the remaining 50% chance will cause all personal attribute stats to drop to 1/10 of their value, with the effect lasting for 1 hour. Yukito instantly dashes from where he stood, his sword glowing with holy light. The Evil King's crimson eyes lock onto him, releasing a dense blood-red aura. Yukito isn't fazed and continues to charge. He suddenly asks, "You all must have heard this famous saying before, right?" Reflected in the Evil King's pupils, Yukito's movements play out. Yukito delivers a powerful sword slash, shattering the statue into pieces. As the debris falls, he lands on the ground, having thoroughly completed the mission. Yukito turns back and says to them, "There are those who, despite being born into the lowly status of a slave, can ultimately transform themselves to ascend to a glorious throne. And then there are those foolish clowns, who possess the ability to single-handedly slaughter even the supreme gods." Nami listens silently. The members cheer with joy. This is amazing! The temple's boss monster has finally fallen completely. Now there are only the tiny, insignificant monsters left, just the small fry scattered around. The group of adventurers rushes toward them. "Listen up, everyone. Hurry and hunt them down, wipe them out completely." Before long, they have been wiped out. The adventurers cheer, "That's it, they've all been completely eradicated." It's so fortunate that everyone here is still alive and safe. A ray of light shines from behind Nami. She turns to see its light streaming in through a window. Yukito smiles as the system screen pops up with a series of notifications. System update: adventurer Yukito Takahashi has successfully defeated the Shadow Mirror. New title awarded. Godslayer of the Evil Forces increases damage dealt to undead monsters by 50%. Milestone 6 all-time high damage output achieved. Officially updated damage output has exceeded the allowed threshold. Heavy Layer Strike skill has been upgraded to Ultimate Finishing Move. Yukito turns to look at Nami, who is pursing her lips. The final notification appears. System: the human faction has now completely seized control of the Temple of Destiny. Everyone rejoices. The doors of the temple are opened and the air becomes clear. Nami uses healing energy to restore the adventurers. Everyone has recovered. Yukito speaks up. "All right." With that, the sacred temple has finally been completely liberated and cleared of all evil forces. Someone calls out from behind, "Hey everyone!" It's the group of adventurers who left earlier, returning to ask, "Is everyone okay?" He replies with surprise. "By some miracle, we are all safe and sound, so you guys were here the whole time waiting for us," the man says apologetically. "Well, even if we couldn't go inside to fight alongside you, we could at least stay back here to provide cover and support. We also quickly sent an urgent request to the Adventurers Guild to ask for reinforcements." They breathe a sigh of relief. "But looking at the current situation, it seems that's no longer necessary, right?" Yukito replies, "No, that's not the case at all. Just the fact that you took responsibility for escorting us safely on our way back is already a huge help." He glances to one side. "I understand. Oh, one more thing. Just a while ago, there were some extremely suspicious-looking guys running toward this direction for their lives. So we just went ahead and rounded them up just to be safe." Yukito glances at Nami, whose face has darkened. "Well, that's true, but usually, aided personnel affiliated with the church should be tried and judged by the church itself. I think this matter should be handed over to that believer." Shivering and stuttering, the man says, My lady Saint Nami." She bows her head to the adventurer who captured them. "Thank you all so much. I sincerely apologize for the trouble and the extra mess caused for everyone. As for these guilty men, I personally will oversee them to ensure they receive the punishment that best fits their crimes. There are a total of 6 men captured." Yukito speaks up. "All right. Essentially, everything here has been resolved satisfactorily. Do you mind if we hand over the rest of the work for you to handle? I need to head back myself to write up a detailed report on this whole incident for the Adventurers Guild." Nami replied, "Yes, I understand clearly." Yukito left with the other adventurers. "Catch you later, then." Nami suddenly called out, "Hey, Yukito?" Surprised, he asked, "Is something the matter?" She replied, "I just wanted to ask you one single question. You just said that you aren't exactly the pious or religious type, yet you seem incredibly knowledgeable and well-versed in ancient scriptures. Why would Christ choose a tax collector to be his apostle?" Or even Christ himself in the moments before his crucifixion felt fear of death, falling into despair and crying out, didn't he? And then there's the matter of why the Saint Shinran taught that it is the sinners themselves who are saved. Where did you learn such profound things? Yukito hesitated. Oh, that. If I have to be honest, it's nothing more than a few useless old skills I happened to pick up in the past. Yukito involuntarily remembered his past life where there was a religious organization that frequently held charity food drives for the poor. And if you were willing to show a little bit of piety or pretend you wanted to learn their scripture, they would generously scoop you an extra portion of free food. This practical reason was honestly not something very flattering to openly admit to others. The next day at the church, Nami radiated a cold, killing intent, glaring at the crowd running away. They slammed their heads against the floor, sobbing and putting on a big act. "Saint Nami, we know our sins now. We will definitely repent and completely change our behavior from now on. So please have mercy and show us your compassion." She folded her hands. "Of course I agree. The divine is always merciful, granting you a chance to redeem your mistakes." They asked joyfully, "Is that true, my lady?" What awaited them, however, was a prison cell. Nami continued, "However, crimes belonging to the mortal world must face appropriate punishments according to the standards of earthly law. I once heard that cantaloupes supposedly originated from the far-off lands of East Africa. That veiled threat made the man tremble uncontrollably." She continued, "And if the base desires coming from your lower body are the root cause of why you fell and sinned, then the most thorough solution is castration." Nami had finished handling that and what followed next. She took the hat off her head. "It is time for me to face my own punishment." Two other followers begged, "Saint Nami, please reconsider this, my lady. A young Saint Nami like you, how could you possibly carry any sins? All of this is entirely the fault of us for being powerless to root out the rot and corruption of the higher-ups." Nami set her clothes down. "Before the greatness of the divine age is completely meaningless. I am currently carrying the sin of laziness, the sin of someone who heartlessly turned a blind eye to the injustices around her. Because of that, I will officially resign as the branch leader of the church, to begin my journey of asceticism again from scratch." The group of loyal followers cried tears, pleading, "Please don't abandon us, Saint Nami." Nami left the church, the place she had been attached to for so long. She looked up at the vast sky, watching the free birds flying. She had to venture out to learn more about a wider world. The harsh truth is, I have been left completely behind and was helpless when facing the enemy of the divine directly. Meanwhile, those free adventurers are the ones who excelled at creating real results. I must humble myself to learn more from those kind neighbors who are always willing to do good deeds. Scene changed to Yukito's house. He is sitting in his room, watching TV. Yukito hears a knock on the door and goes to open it to see who is outside. When he sees the person, Yukito's eyes show astonishment. Outside, Nami is smiling and saying, "Hello, everyone. Do you believe in the presence of the divine?" Yukito tries to close the door. "As far as religion and faith go, I'll pass, thanks." Nami immediately teleported from where she was standing. She had entered the room holding a Bible. "Don't reject me so bluntly like that. At least listen until I finish my sentence, won't you?" He was shocked. "You're fast," she realized. So magic that isn't for attacking is allowed to be freely cast and used on the ground, huh? Yukito continued. "An X times multiplier effect on speed, I take it." From inside, a voice called out, "Oh, Yukito, you're back." His mother gently asked, "Do you have a guest, dear?" Nami politely introduced herself. "Hello, ma'am. My name is Nami. I am a humble subordinate who is always being guided by Yukito." He was speechless. A church priest who could effortlessly tell such a shameless lie, Nami denied it. It's not a lie at all, really. After all of humanity in this world, we're all one big family, aren't we? Yuku asked suspiciously if she was Yukito's underling. She confirmed it, and Yuku thought to herself Nami was it. "I feel like I've seen your face somewhere before." Then she finally seemed to remember something. "That's right, Yukito. Back when you were volunteering at the food bank, Nami and the nun were there too." Yuku continued. "You really stood out back then, such a hard-working and diligent child amidst all those adults." She admitted, "Yes, that's right." The activities that year were actually part of a series of charity works run by your church branch. Yukito thought to himself, so it was their parish that reached out to help, and my family during those hard times. He grabbed a pair of slippers for Nami. "Anyway, just come on inside for now." Yuku welcomed her warmly. "Let me go make some hot tea." He asked, curious, "How? Did you manage to find out exactly where I live?" She replied, "I took the initiative and asked that hero myself." Ozama had been overly confident at the time. Yukito's house. Of course I know exactly where it is. Yukito was annoyed, that damn hero. To think he'd just leak my personal information like that. As tea and snacks were served, he asked seriously, "So what exactly is it that you want?" Nami replied, "That's right." She expressed, "I really truly want to form a combat party with you." Yukito! Yukito was stunned by the request. He understood. It was true he figured the time had finally come for him to join a party, to start fighting. His mother was completely cured now. So from now on, he didn't need to force his body to grind constantly hunting for ultra-rare items to pay for medical bills anymore. Yukito asked, "But why did you choose me?" She said reverently, "Because deep inside you I accidentally caught a glimpse of the glorious light of this world." Yukito listened confused. "I really don't quite understand what you mean." Nami continued, "Actually, even I can't fully grasp it myself." Yukito was speechless. This girl was truly difficult to read and predict. He thought to himself, "However, honestly speaking, this is clearly a really good opportunity for me, because the capacity of a person grinding in a dungeon alone will always have its limits, and at the very least from a professional perspective, I would never recommend anyone to choose the solo dungeon grinding path. Someone who possesses high-level support abilities is always an incredibly valuable talent, and they are usually snapped up and fought over by top-tier combat parties immediately." He reached out his hand to Nami. Yukito agreed. "All right then. Let's try teaming up and fighting together once, shall we?" She was overjoyed hearing that. Nami took his hand. "I'm really looking forward to, and the time we'll spend working together and fighting side by side from now on." Outside, the sky was clear and sunny. The heavy house door opened from within as Yukito stepped out, prepared for the journey. To get ready for his upcoming adventure with Nami, he had done some preparations himself. First, he spent a fortune to buy a brand new house because now that his reputation was starting to become widely known in society. The security and safety of his family made him feel incredibly worried, not to mention since the day Nami decided to turn her back on the church. Someone had messaged to ask for her address. "Nami, by the way, where have you been staying lately?" At the moment, she was having to camp out and sleep rough outdoors. She clearly needed a decent room to stay in, above all to prepare for the scenario if God forbid something unforeseen were to happen in the future. Yukito would fully utilize his ultimate luck stat to earn a massive amount of cash and arrange everything perfectly to ensure safety. Thinking that his family would always have a solid inheritance left behind, he quietly told himself that what he was doing wasn't for anyone else's sake. It was so that he could officially embark on a true adventure, one strictly for himself. That was the one thing he absolutely had to accomplish, no matter what. Nozomi arrived at this meeting spot and said, "Sorry for making you wait so long, big brother." He complimented her. "Nozomi, your hair looks so much cuter when you tie it up like that." Yukito asked, "Did you remember to bring your handkerchief?" Yukito smiled faintly as he watched the scene. He led Nozomi away. "If everything is all set, then let's head out." In the city center with skyscrapers packed tightly together, they walked along the road in silence. Yukito realized that even with a new teammate, his current situation hadn't really changed much. Naomi started a conversation. "It's so hot again today, isn't it?" he replied. "Yeah, but anyway, it's still much more comfortable inside the dungeon than in that heat out there." As he passed by an area, a news announcement blared. "The hero has officially reached level 70 in record time." He glanced at Ozama on the large LED screen. The hero's back was still in a place far off in the distance. No matter how hard he tried to grind and work, that guy would continue to grow stronger at an even more terrifying speed. He brought her to the Adventurers Guild. Yukito walked up to the reception desk, but even so, "I absolutely have no intention of stopping here." She was already familiar with him, so Yukito smiled brightly and greeted, "Thanks for all your hard work." He recalled that he had always been too used to being weak and inferior to others, because in his previous life he had absolutely no hope at all. He walked toward the teleportation gate, and as the dungeon landscape appeared before him, he believed that in this current reality, there were still so many things he could do with his own hands. Yukito looked slimes. It's been a while, hasn't it? As soon as they entered, he encountered rare silver slimes. Naomi drew her staff and asked, "Do you need me to cast a speed boost spell?" He refused. "Nah, don't bother. Just let me handle this monster one-on-one." A few slimes lunged toward Yukito. He realized his luck stat had granted him incredibly clear and obvious favors like the power to casually cheat, manipulating every probability rate in existence. With a critical hit, he sliced the slimes into bits. He felt secretly pleased looking at those rare items and the fact that he was always guaranteed to have super rare loot drop. Yukito glanced at his silver sword. I need to take this weapon in for some proper careful maintenance soon. Otherwise... Suddenly someone approached and called out, "Hey there! Looks like you're doing well and in good form as always, huh?" Yukito remembered the other person. "You're that guy from the fight against the scythe mantis back then, aren't you?" He grinned and waved his hand. The man confirmed, "That's right. I'm still using the gear you generously gifted me that day." Naomi's eyes lit up as she asked, "Did you do that because you wanted to do a good deed and build up some karma?" Yukito denied it. Not at all. At the time, it was just an emergency situation, that's all. He asked about the man's progress with his job advancement lately. "How's that coming along?" The man raised his hammer to show off. "You asked the right person. I actually just finished switching my class to a blacksmith. I hit the maximum level cap as a vanguard warrior." Yukito replied, "I see, that makes sense. After all, being an adventurer isn't just about combat-focused classes, is it?" The man offered, "If you ever need anything, I'm more than happy to take full responsibility for maintaining all your weapons and gear." He immediately agreed. "In that case, once this grinding trip is over, I'll definitely stop by your shop." The blacksmith smiled brightly. "Really? If you actually come by, I promise to give you a special discount. I mean, after all, you're the benefactor who saved my life back then. If you actually drop by, I promise I'll give you a special discount. I mean, really, I'll hook you up. Besides, you're the one who saved my life back then after all." Yukito offered a faint smile at this chance encounter. He thought if he had truly been able to help someone take their first steady steps into an entirely new life, then all the effort he poured into liberating that job change temple that day was truly absolutely worth it. The scene shifted to a church where they had arrived. The nun prayed, "May you all be guided out from the light of glory, and may you return to the very embrace of the sacred light." The teleportation formation was activated, and the two were transported elsewhere. The dungeon doors opened to reveal a vast desert. Yukito asked an adventurer, "Sorry about that. Did I keep you waiting for long?" It was the group that had fought alongside him in the temple purification mission. They replied, "Not at all, I just got here myself." Yukito bowed humbly and said, "Please, I'll be in your care today. I look forward to learning a lot from you." The man looked surprised. "Hey, a guy with the title Godslayer doesn't need to bow so formally like that, does he?" Yukito remained modest. "I'm just relying entirely on luck, that's all. I don't really have any actual skills or combat techniques." The other replied, "But I don't think our enemies are the type that you could easily defeat just by relying on pure luck." This remark stunned Yukito, feeling recognized. They began their journey to explore the desert dungeon. A sound echoed and the group went on alert. A giant scorpion blocked their path. Yukito warned, "A scorpion-type monster has appeared, everyone be careful." He understood that even though this peak level of luck was ultimately just a cheat ability he had been randomly granted, he was the one making the decisions. He was the one deciding how to use that power. The other teammates accelerated, and so did Yukito. He never backed down from an opponent. Yukito gripped the hilt of his sword tightly and slammed his feet into the ground. The scorpion had incredibly hard armor. They surrounded it. He felt extremely confident, and regarding the results born from his own choices, he chose to believe that this was the true source of strength he had created with his own hands. After dealing with the first obstacle, they arrived at an oasis in the desert. The group sat down to rest. Yukito happily enjoyed the camaraderie of his teammates. "I absolutely cannot continue to live forever as an eccentric isolated from society like this. From this moment on, I will open my heart to connect with everyone around me instead of just hovering around my family." In the sky, a giant dragon flew toward them. It roared as it headed in his direction. Yukito warned, "Nami, let's move quickly." She replied, "Understood." Nami raised her staff, activating its power, while Yukito leaped from where he was standing. He descended from the air, swinging his sword down. "I will definitely become even stronger." The sharp, glowing sword strike sliced the giant dragon in two. Blood gushed out from its body. Yukito closed in on its lower half. Yukito was certain that, in surpassing and reaching realms beyond mere luck, that is the ultimate goal he is striving toward.